I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rob Fishbeck. With me, as always, is my co-host Dela Common. We've got two great special guests tonight. You know her from Characters of Culture, my awesome co-host Lego, and from What the Show, and Know It or Blow It, Bethany Deacon. What's going on, everybody?
It's a great day. When people say Disney, it just automatically summons me. I just check on some mini ears and I show up. So it worked. I'm here.
I love it. A lot of us are very festive tonight. So if the title didn't give it away for you guys, we are here to talk about Disney songs tonight. Focusing
and this
on
is
go ahead.
This is exciting because you are both Lego and Bethany are the first proper guest on EMBC. We had our spinoff show, the hip hop show, where we had like a roundtable discussion. But you two are the first official in how many years we have done this show.
This is season 3.
This is season 3. You're the first two guests.
And
what appropriate
really official, because I wasn't even on the hip hop series. I just produced it with you because I don't I just I could name you like 20 rap songs. That's about it. So
yeah, he just sat backstage when we mocked how white he was on camera.
Well, they do that whether the show's about hip hop or not. They mock how white I am all the time.
I mean,
I understand that.
You kind of open yourself up to that one, Rob. And now I have Grandmaster Flash songs stuck in my head and completely ruined the Disney song. So who knows what I'm going to come up with.
Well, let's get us back into it. Tale as old as time. Anyways, so the conversation this evening is going to be about our favorite Disney songs. We're just going to go around the horn one by one, bring songs up, talk about them. I'm sure there's a lot of middle of the road on the Venn diagram songs we all love. I'm sure some of us got some deep cuts that, oh yeah, I forgot about that one, sort of thing. And let us know in the chat, everybody here that's live, we're live on air. Fire them off in the chat if you guys got ones. Let us know your thoughts and opinions. If you're watching this show on the replay or listening to this show on the replay, let us know in the comments section. Please like and subscribe. Cannot stress that enough. We are on the road to 500 subscribers, which is great. This channel is growing fast, and I'm loving it, the whole thing. And let us know in the comments, what are your favorite Disney songs of all time? I got quite a list here. I'm sure you guys got some lists as well. Yeah. So let's kick things off with Lego. What's your first pick for the night?
Well, I guess I should get the problematic one out of the way.
Oh, it's going to be from Pocahontas.
Yes, it is.
And I am already shaking my head.
Hey, this
singing soundtrack, though.
This was the only Disney This was the only Disney princess movie I was allowed to watch as a kid. Listen, problems with the story aside, Pocahontas is one of the only Disney princesses that actually stood up for herself.
True.
And listen, I think the singer's Judy Kahn.
That sounds correct. Yeah.
Sings the out of that song. It is a gorgeous song. The watercolors, Disney, why did you never do a watercolor animation film again? Gorgeous looking. Absolutely stunning. And why didn't you tell a better story? You could have told a better story.
Could have told a better story.
But the songs are great.
Is there any specific songs? Because when I think of Pocahontas, I immediately Colors of the Wind. Yeah, that's the one I think of.
It's a great fucking song. Let's all be honest. I again can't stress enough. Very problematic film, but damn it, if it is a great song.
I have a besides my personal relationship with my distaste for Pocahontas for obvious reasons. If you followed the show, family, especially on my mother's side, is Native American. Pocahontas is not one of our favorites. Out of my Disney canon, I have little nieces and they would all want Disney princess stuff. Pocahontas was the only one that didn't get bought. They got all from Uncle Dela. I almost said my real name.
You've name dropped yourself. You have.
No, you've name dropped me.
No, I have not. I absolutely never have. Oh, yeah, you name dropped yourself.
Cousin Rob was using your legal name left and right the other day.
Yeah, this is true.
And that's why I don't think Rob even remembers my name.
I know your name.
Okay, so back on track. I used to get my friend Elizabeth, who I adore, used to drunkenly call me Pocahontas whenever she was drunk.
I've been called that a lot as a kid.
And when she would call, there'd be sometimes where I get a phone call and the only thing that says is Pocahontas, can you paint with all the colors of the wind, and hang up. Like there was like a lot of like, so whenever you mention that song, I always think of my friend Elizabeth, who would just drunkenly call me and be quasi-racist.
Oh yeah, back in like 2016, I had a lot of coworkers calling me that. I'm like, I don't even know what to do with this. I'm just gonna walk away.
So many questions. Why?
Right.
So this does with the whole camera thing. I actually am fairly tan. This really whites me out.
Same,
a lot
same.
of filters. There's been a lot of backlash. A lot of filters make people look a lot more pale than they are. I've noticed that. I have gotten a lot paler because I'm very
pale. I actually was looking at the camera and I was like, wow, I feel like I look almost tanner than I am. If you saw me in real life, I'd actually be paler.
Redheads love it. Like when we're
that's why I braid my hair. I think that was the thing.
That was probably it.
Like, I don't know what to do with this.
But
yeah,
Adams, you know what I mean? Like when I see people with like braided hair, like dark braided hair, that's what I think of. That's where
my personal feelings aside, it does Colors of the Wind and the songs of it are iconic, and they are like, so I joke about it, but I understand why people still have an affinity for it, because I was very much also in that. I want to say that was probably also the bookend era of like the classic era of what people consider Disney films before you had the Pixar era.
I would go with Tarzan probably be the end of the classic era. But Tarzan being different from the other films, Tarzan, it was a lot of Phil Collins music playing and a lot less that the characters singing.
Yes.
You know,
which is why the Broadway musical is better than the movie, in my humble opinion, because they're banger songs, but it drives me absolutely wild that they are not singing them in the movie when every other Disney movie, the characters just get to sing their feelings. Like that is the whole thing. They're musicals. But the Broadway show remedies that because then they obviously are just singing these banger hits and it's so much better. Why couldn't we let them do that in the movie?
So going back to Pocahontas real quick before we go to Bethany's pick, because we'll definitely get to Tarzan. Obviously, all of the major problematic issues of Pocahontas set aside, my biggest issue when I was growing up, so this movie came out when I was in kindergarten, and I remember when I got into, it was either 4th or 5th grade, and we were learning American history, and the teacher was like very stern and said, that movie got so many things wrong. John Rolfe and John Smith were actually switched. And I was like, what? This is like, so I've not seen the movie in like over 20 years because it's just like, I'll listen to the soundtrack, but I'm just like, it's not even historically accurate, and then I learned like the real atrocities of how, you know what I mean?
You know, most movies aren't historically accurate.
Sure.
Rob.
That's true. Based on a true story. Very loosely based. Very loosely based.
Loosely based. All right, Bethany, what do you
So I want to just start off with, obviously favorite Disney songs. To me, it's like my top 5, is kind of ever changing.
Sure.
And there are some like heavy hitters that just like are never going to go out of rotation for me. Like they're just iconic songs that I just like everyone when they think of Disney songs think of. So I wanted to start the night with just giving some love to some like maybe not lesser known, because again, like I don't think if you're Disney you can really be lesser known, but like maybe not ones that get mentioned in this conversation all the time. And one that I will like never skip over if it comes on like, my iPhone or whatever, on my Apple Music, listening to it. And I want to also preface this by saying, I think the lyrics are dumb. The song makes no fucking, like, it's dumb, but it's just such a fucking bop. And it's Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride from Lilo and Stitch. Like, what does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean? Like, why is surfing a roller coaster? I don't know. Lyrically, dumb. The music of it, though, the song, chef's kiss. It just like it gives me summer, it gives me happiness. Like sometimes I want to like belt out like an I want song from a Disney movie, but sometimes I just want to like set my cruise control and be like, Hawaiian roller coaster ride. You know, it's great. I love it. It like makes me want to go to Hawaii. It's one of those things. When we think of Lilo and Stitch, I don't think we think of the music a lot.
Well, I think of Elvis
You know,
when
yeah,
I think
you
of
think of
Lilo and
Elvis.
Stitch.
Exactly. Like, because obviously that's kind of the whole shtick of that film. But yeah, it's kind of the only like non-Elvis song, and I just think it's fun. I just enjoy it. I want to give a little love to something that doesn't like come up often in these conversations.
It's Lilo and Stitch is just, I remember seeing that in the theater with my family. That movie is incredible. I've not seen it in a long time, but I have seen some pics of them filming the new one, and they're using a puppet or whatever. Stitch was in the car, and I was like, yes, they're not just gonna CGI him.
No,
Great success.
Great success. Great success. Yes.
Great success. Anybody else got any thoughts on Lilo and Stitch?
I find it interesting that movie has turned into almost like a mascot, almost in the way of Nightmare Before Christmas has been for certain like a certain audience.
Yeah.
I know, like especially like one of my nieces who's kind of more of like an outcasty type kid, even though she's like not like anything concerning. Actually, more of the type that we encourage in my family. She's very much like drawn to Stitch and Lilo and Stitch as a movie. So I've kind of noticed like in the past 10 years that there is almost a certain generations are gravitating towards that as almost like more of a, like that's their Disney character, which I am a little bit older. And so I don't really recognize, like I saw Lilo and Stitch way after the fact.
Right.
And it's just been interesting to see that they kind of, and yeah, the same thing. I think of Elvis whenever I think of Lilo and Stitch. And not
well,
so
we
much
bought,
Lilo.
I mean, immediately after the movie came out, we bought the soundtrack because it had a bunch of Elvis songs. And obviously, you know, that's like right up my alley. This thought just popped into my head. I'll just throw it out there. Is Lilo and Stitch the first Disney animated movie for Gen Zers? Obviously, all of us being millennials,
What year did it
know,
come out?
2003.
2002, 3? Was it 3?
Okay.
So I would have
you know, it might be. It's probably one of their earliest memories, like Lion King for us. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like seeing something like that, like early 90s, obviously for us. So yeah, early 2000s for Gen Z, like older Gen Z at least, because younger Gen Z would be like real little. But even then, that might have been
Frozen would be like Gen Z,
Yeah.
like the back
like,
half
for
of
real.
Gen Z.
That's like for real their Lion King.
Right.
But yeah, but I do feel like it might be kind of a Gen Z thing. Stitch as a character, yeah, is very like popular. But it's funny to me because as much as Stitch as a character is popular, I feel like the movie doesn't get discussed much, like the other characters, which is interesting. And which I understand, obviously Stitch is going to be the one that people gravitate toward because he's like the cute little rascal. But yeah, it is. You might be onto something. It might be that I think a lot of Gen Z probably watched it at an impressionable age, and it just kind of really like what the Disney Renaissance films are. Because I work with some Gen Z ladies, and a lot of them, and this absolutely blows my fucking mind, have not seen The Little Mermaid. How? Like, what is your childhood? And I was like, but like, you didn't have the clamshell VHS. Like, obviously, you probably weren't going and seeing it in theaters, but like, how did you just never watch that at any point?
I saw it
like,
once when I was in high school.
And that's it? That's the only time? Oh my God. Y'all, the Lion King. The Little Mermaid.
Lego was watching Michael Myers at like, what, age 10?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I saw him just like,
I've not seen Lilo.
It's very
the soundtrack. I mean, I will discuss later the Little Mermaid soundtrack, but like,
oh, we'll get there. We'll get there.
I have one of the songs on my list.
All right, Dela Comment. What's your first pick of the night?
I'm gonna go with. I'm just gonna get it out of the way. Normally, this is like I would save like my number one for whatever, but I don't really rank stuff as much.
Sure.
But I'm gonna go with which. So kind of set the table when I said earlier when I said the golden age. I'm also being biased and saying this is my age bracket of which we had Disney. So I'm going with kind of like Oliver and Company, which is hands down my
Okay.
favorite.
Yeah.
That was my as a kid, and especially the song "Why Should I Worry." Is
Yeah.
like that one is fantastic. And what I love about it is, of course, Bethany's here, so we have to talk about Billy Joel to a certain
Billy
extent.
Joel, I was
Figure.
like, Auburn Company has to come up at some point tonight. I'm certain. We may have just summoned my husband.
And
My
Huey
husband.
Lewis is music is
Yeah.
featured in that movie as well. So
Yeah.
yes,
That's true.
But so my Disney is pretty much Oliver and Company because I would have been 3 when that came out, and then it probably bookends like my time watching Disney around Pocahontas and Hunchback of Notre Dame. So that's kind of what my frame of reference is, because that's that good period. And this is great because it's the first, I believe it's the first one with Katzenberg in the head or Eisner as the head of animation. And so this is when you get that trend of moving away from like the Great Mouse Detective or that sort of stuff, and you're getting into like what would be kind of the template of what Disney films would be going forward in this modern area going forward.
I believe this is the first one Ashman did lyrics for or did music for.
Yeah,
I might be wrong
did
on that. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but
I mean, I know he
that
definitely did it with Huey Lewis, the Once Upon a Time in New York City.
This was 87 or 88, I think. Let's see.
88.
88? Yeah. So this had been a year before The Little Mermaid, which most people use as like the when the Disney Renaissance kicked off.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
That's why I wanted to start off with this, because I think Oliver and Company never gets as enough love as it should. But it was my first favorite. And it's also really interesting is it is
Oliver and Company
also,
is his first credit lyrically for writing credit for Disney. Yep, that's correct.
And I realized when we were like doing the prep work for this, I was like, man, a lot of my, especially, I was born in 85. So between 85 and 89, almost a majority of my media consuming was New York based between Ghostbusters 2 and Oliver and Company. And it was kind of like that last era of celebrating New York before New York became, ironically enough, more Disney-fied. Like what you had in the 90s with like Times Square and that sort of stuff in Giuliani. So, but yeah, like just to me, Why Should I Worry is like an anthem. It brings me back to when I was a kid. I was like, man, am I adding this to my Spotify just not for research purposes?
Yeah,
because I love it so. And Billy Joel kills it, and it's fantastic. And it's very weirdly structured, the song too. It doesn't really flow correctly. Like it has certain points in it where it just like it's a little bit jarring and doesn't fit together. Because it's Disney, it works together as a whole. So I love that. So I wanted to start off with Oliver and Company.
By the way, you brought up a great point that I didn't really think about before. The 80s New York kind of still had that grit to it that obviously like a movie like Taxi Driver or Midnight Cowboy would like really exemplify like in the previous decade. But yeah, you're right. By the time we get to the 90s, when they clean up New York, it's very Disneyfied, and now, I mean, ever since 9/11, it's a whole different, thing over there. So,
I mean, you get into gentrification and all that other stuff, but I mean, we're talking about Disney's films, but yeah, I just noticed that like a lot of my kind of media consumption as a kid was very New York based and very old New York based. And I think this is kind of like the tail end almost. I think Ghostbusters 2 came out in 89?
88 or 89, yeah. Same.
So, time, yeah. So, one thing I wanted to bring up on that. So,
love it.
What do you got, Rob?
That's so good.
Ooh, see, I don't want to go with any of the because I know some of these heavy hitters. So I'll take a note out of Bethany's book. I'll bring one up that just probably might not get brought up otherwise. So my favorite Disney princess growing up was Sleeping Beauty. And I liked Sleeping Beauty in terms of the animated princess films. I'm not talking about the Rescuers. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about the princess films specifically. I didn't know it at the time. I know why now. But at the time, I just didn't really understand why I liked Sleeping Beauty more than the rest of them. It's dark. It's a dark movie. It's a dark and gritty animated princess film.
That's right.
And the song Once Upon a Dream is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And I would just like rewind the tape and rewatch the and just like da da da. I like it's a waltz. Love
Yeah.
the whole thing. And then I still haven't seen Maleficent or the second Maleficent, but Lana Del Rey did a new version of it when they made the live action movie. And
Right.
it's actually that song, because I really liked her vocals, that got me into Lana Del Rey. And at the time, she'd only had like 2 records out. It was like right before Ultraviolence hit. So then I really got into Lana Del Rey. That being said, and then I found this out like when I was in my 20s. I didn't know this till like 10 years ago that it's all a lot of it's based on Tchaikovsky's some Sleeping Princess or something. And a lot of the music that's in it is from that. So I was like, that's cool. So it's almost like a new just like adaptation. But yeah, big Sleeping Beauty guy. So you guys got any thoughts on Sleeping Beauty or Once Upon a Dream?
That's George Burns, isn't it? Who composed the majority of that? Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
not George Burns, the comedian, though.
Yeah, not.
To be fair.
But anyways, so yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think honestly, overall, like when you think about it, which I know like now we're like, oh my God, like Disney's always killing the parents and whatever, and like these dramatic stories. But like when they first started making animated films, like they were like Sleeping Beauty is dark, Snow White is dark, and like people I don't think of them as being they're like, oh yeah, the happy little fairy tale stories. Like fairy tales by nature are dark stories. And yeah, I think because again, people think of Snow White, it's like whistle while we work and it's the princess and whatever, but like, it's a dark story. Like,
This whole time this woman's trying to plot to kill her. You know what I mean?
like,
Yeah.
but
I mean, that's
they're
all
not.
like the German, like Aesop's fables, like origins of all these fairy tales. Like majority of the fairy tales that Disney kind of rode their coattails on. But yeah,
I remember that,
that's
I remember when I was in college and I found out the real ending to The Little Mermaid, the Hans Christian Andersen tale, and I was like, oh shit, that's
Yeah.
glad they didn't go that route with the animated movie. I don't know if we would have had the Renaissance.
Would have been.
I mean,
would have
honestly,
been a
I don't think
different-
Disney did a good job of telling cautionary tales.
Yeah.
They told romanticized stories, which,
That's true.
I'm being honest, I'm
Nope.
not really super
no
fan
pun
of.
intended with the Little Mermaid.
Right.
Yeah.
Nah.
But bump tails.
You can spell tail however you want.
Yeah, you sure can.
All right, Lego, what do you got next?
I guess I'll do my kind of deeper cut one. I know a lot of people didn't like Brave. I really like Brave. I thought it was really
Brave was
fun. But
great.
the song Touch the Sky by Julie Fowlis,
Fantastic.
great song. Phenomenal song. Really upbeat, get you a lot of energy going. Sometimes I listen to it to get pumped up.
Yeah. That's a great. This is my working theory on Brave and why it isn't as like beloved as the other Pixar films. So Pixar, obviously, I feel like when they first kind of hit, it was like, oh, we can do Disney for boys because like Toy Story is kind of boy centric, you know what I mean? And then they kind of leaned into that for a little bit, like, well, we're gonna do Disney for boys. That's what Pixar is gonna be, and then we'll leave classic Disney Animation Studios for the princess movies, for the girls. And obviously, this is no shock to anyone. Most film critics are men. So Brave came out and Pixar was like, we're going to do a story about mother-daughters, not like we've seen a million father-son stories in Disney films and every single genre of film. And they were like, we're going to do this really beautiful mother-daughter story. And I went and watched it with my mom and like sobbed and thought it was fantastic. And the music was great. And the animation is beautiful. And I love their accents and it's fantastic. And male critics were like, but Pixar's for the boys. This is a girl film. And that's
but also I really love that this was the first one where it was like, we're gonna have a princess, no romance. That's not the
I love
telling,
that,
which is fantastic.
So
I think another hindrance is that at the same time Disney put out Wreck-It Ralph, and there was a lot of jokes where it was like, I think they switched that Wreck-It Ralph should be the Pixar movie and Brave should be the Disney movie. But if I'm being honest, I definitely like Wreck-It Ralph a bit more, but I really like Brave. I don't think it got a fair cut.
And that's one of those like I put on my like working out playlist. So I'm like, really, it's a motivator song. Like I'm like, yes, get it, girl. We'll touch the sky. But no, it's perfect. they did such a good job, honestly, incorporating the kind of like Scottish folk music sound into the movie. Thank you.
And you think like that discourse would have changed because we've already went through this with Milan. Like we'd already gone through this. Like it wasn't like this. Like Brave came out of nowhere and didn't have any kind of like origins and like whether it's like female empowerment. She's a warrior, not a quote unquote princess.
Right.
Like and then it just became kind of eye rolling. And then I'm like, it's a fucking kids movie. People.
Okay, so I've seen Mulan one time at a party. I may have missed what happened, but didn't Mulan get with the army guy?
She does, yes.
Yeah, so it's still a romance story.
But it's still.
But we're talking about. Like, I just mean like the whole like themes.
Mulan once. It's like
at a party.
I've only seen it once too. I saw it in the theater.
It's like one of my favorite Disney films.
Wasn't for
that one hit me. It was just the right age. Like also, it's just like 100% a story like. What's very ironic is I was not the tomboy of my family. I was always the girly girl. Like I want to wear frilly dresses. I want to whatever. But something about the story of Mulan just really hit me. But I think also it was because growing up, my sisters had already claimed their princess because they were older. You know what I mean? We all know about your trauma with Mulan, sir. But anyways, sorry, my husband was distracting me in the comments. But like my sister Megan had
what did Mulan do you?
I'll explain. My sister Megan had claimed Belle. My sister Sarah had claimed Ariel. And I was like, I wanted to be different. I was like, I don't want, like, they've already claimed, like, I don't want to have the same one as my sisters. And then Mulan came out around the time I was about 8 years old, and it just fucking slapped. Like, it hit me. The songs are great. I'm gonna talk about some of them later. It's everything I've ever wanted in a movie. Like and then the live action was so disappointing.
I have a very important question. The sister who claimed Ariel, is she also a redhead?
No, which is why I really feel.
See, that's not fair. You should be able to automatically claim Ariel.
Yeah, but
ginger power.
She'd claimed it before I came along with my ginge, so she didn't know, But I do feel like she should have been mine.
So I got to be honest, I've never seen Brave, so I kind of fell off somewhere in the mid 2000s.
Rob, I feel like you would like Brave though.
So I've not seen Tangled. I haven't seen Brave. I haven't seen. There's a couple more of them. I haven't seen them yet. So.
You haven't seen Wreck-It Ralph?
It's really good.
Oh, Wreck-It Ralph and Ralph Breaks the Internet. Those are just two of the greatest animated films of all time. Like Lego, whenever we do our favorite animated movies, characters of culture episode, you will see Wreck-It Ralph in the top 20 for sure.
Jimmy's mad.
Has very good music. Mother Knows Best is maybe one of Disney's best villain songs. So you really have to watch it. It's so good.
Okay.
I really thought about that song too. I love it so much. I feel like there are other songs in that movie though, just didn't quite bring it the way that a lot of other Disney songs do. I mean, they're fine, they're serviceable, but they're not as memorable.
I mean, At Last I See the Light is a big one. That's really big on the Disney wedding circuit, in case anyone's wondering. If you are getting married at Disney, that does seem to be the number one choice that people use for their first dance. So maybe a little played out in certain areas, but honestly, fantastic.
And I do like that Tangled kind of addressed like the PTSD that Rapunzel definitely would be having. And that's one of the only cases where I'm like, I'm okay with this romance. This is cute.
Yeah.
This is fine.
They're very cute.
With the hair, right? Where the guy climbs up to rescue her. Is that what Princess
That's
Fiona
not quite
is based
what happened. Doesn't climb up to rescue her.
Is that what Princess Fiona's based on in Shrek? She's in the cast. She's
inspired by quite a few different. She's an amalgamation.
Yeah, but there is a scene where they do like a riff on Rapunzel.
I used to get Rapunzel and Rumpelstiltskin confused.
Very different, but I could see how that could. Also, it was called Tangled because again, Disney was trying to appeal to boys, so they didn't want to call it Rapunzel because they were like, then it'll be associated as a princess movie, which it is. So they heavily advertised. They named it Tangled, and they heavily advertised like the sidekick characters and like Flynn Rider. To kind of be like, but boys can like it too. Look at the horse in this movie.
Okay.
There's a lizard in this movie for you boys. But no, it's honestly very good.
All right, Bethany, you're up. What's your next pick?
Okay, so my next one, I'm gonna like kind of cheat like a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna pick a song, and it's like the song that everyone knows from the soundtrack. But honestly, everyone, if you've not listened to this entire soundtrack, do yourself a favor, listen to the entire soundtrack. This is another one. It came out at a time where I just feel like it ended up getting overshadowed because like basically a year later Tangled came out, and then only like a couple years later Frozen came out, and everyone forgot about every other Disney movie there for a time being. But it's Princess and the Frog. The entire soundtrack is amazing. If you love like jazz, New Orleans, that kind of vibe, it's great. Almost There is obviously like I'm gonna shout that one out. It's the one kind of everyone knows, but it is a great song. It's just a great soundtrack. I'm very excited for Tiana to get her ride at Disney. I know a lot of racist people aren't, but I'm pumped.
Is that replacing Splash Mountain?
It is replacing Splash Mountain. Yes,
Okay.
People are real bitter about it. Not everyone, but some people, and we all know who those people are. But anywho,
Okay, but Splash Mountain's fun. She should get her own thing and keep Splash Mountain.
It's a great song. It's just the whole soundtrack is great. Again, it's just one of those movies that I feel like because of when it came out, it just kind of got lost in the shuffle. But it harkens back to that old 2D animation. Just the soundtrack is just so like Renaissance era Disney, but with like this New Orleans jazz influence, and I love it. And as much as I love where Disney has gone with their music recently, I just love everything about it. It's just so like classic Disney, and it just chef's kiss.
Is that, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the last 2D animated Disney princess film?
I think so. To date, yes. I don't think they've gone back to the 2D well for princess films.
And I think actually that was one that they kind of they had stopped doing 2D.
Yeah, and they had stopped and they decided to go back. Like it was a big thing that they were doing it 2D animation.
And I hesitate. Actually, I won't bring up his name, but I had so idolized that dude. Should I say who it is?
Yeah, because I have no frame of reference for what.
He headed Pixar, then he was the chief creative officer of Disney Animation Studio, John Lasseter.
Oh, right.
And I was such a big fan of his, and then he turned out to be a pervert. And then I learned you just can't trust men.
That's true. Just in general, all men.
If Buffy taught us anything,
don't bring up Buffy.
Yeah, I know. You one day you and I need to go on a deep dive of our love of Buffy.
That's Joss Whedon, right? With Buffy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? He directed
I go so back and forth on Xander. It's not the time or place for it, but
it's just so weird.
Yeah, in retrospect, that is a weird character to think about, like as the avatar of
I don't think I've ever seen The Princess and the Frog all the way through. So I'm so glad we're having this conversation tonight because I'm just thinking in my head, I was like, you know what would probably be a good thing for me to do with my life that would make me really happy is to go on a Disney animated binge over the next month or two and watch the like 10 movies that I haven't seen over the last 15 years. So
it will just make you really hungry. I'll warn you. I watched that movie and I'm like, man, I could go for a beignet. And then I remember I live in the South, so that's very easy for me to accomplish. But they're not as good as they are in New Orleans. Disney World actually does have some really banger beignets, I will say.
You know what's really good in Georgia? Some places have fried green tomato festivals.
Yeah,
I would recommend that.
I've never had a fried green tomato, and LeGault, I still have not had a plantain yet. So
oh my god, plantains are so good.
So good. You need to fix that. Fix that right. Watch Princess and the Frog, listen to the soundtrack, fall in love with it, as everyone should, and then eat fried green tomatoes, beignets, and plantains.
When I think of Princess and the Frog, though, like I just kind of want to go get an alligator burger if we're doing.
Rob, no, stop.
Yeah.
Moving on,
Right.
Dela.
I did try to make Mike watch this the other day, and he didn't want to. So maybe one day he'll watch Princess and the Frog with me.
Okay. Yeah, Dela.
So I'm gonna piggyback off of the similar themes of Princess and the Frog and go with Pixar's Soul. It is one of my favorites, just and there's not really a song that really sticks out. It's so well done. The atmosphere of why are you hiding? Why are you hiding? Why do you hate John Batiste? And
I haven't seen it, so if it's
why do you hate John?
I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about just the music. because the movie is kind of so with me. But the music to me, the people that they had involved, like I said, they had Cody Chestnut, Questlove, John Batiste, like actual people within the. Even though Questlove is not necessarily considered in the soul and jazz, but he is adjacent because that's what the roots brought to hip hop music. Right. But very much like the music of that, especially when this is the period where the only time Dela watched Disney films is because he has nieces and nephews that would force him to watch Disney films. It was a nice surprise, even though like the movie I'm not very high on and like in the hierarchy of stuff, but I very much appreciated the music and the people that like when I was doing my little research, like they consulted Herbie Hancock, who is like one of the
Herbie Hancock,
like the kind of like almost like a modern custodian of jazz music compared to whoever's left right now. So yeah, I very much loved that soundtrack. It's one of those ones that, like, legit, whenever they were like, oh, we want to watch Soul, I'm like, good. I at least could go do stuff and listen in the background and not be, like, annoyed by earworm music, which is what a lot of, like, Disney films ended up being, just earworm stuff for me over the years. So, yeah, that's my pick.
Okay. Soul's on my list. I haven't seen it. So.
Oh, it's good. It came out, obviously, during, like, the COVID times. It came out on Disney+. And it's one of those things with Frozen 2, which is why I think I like Frozen 2 more than Frozen. I like the music better in Frozen 2 anyhow. And I think it's a stronger story. Both of them are good. Anyways, Soul got me in the feels because it just like came out at that time where we were all stuck in our house and feeling feelings. And I was like, shit.
Obviously,
like, it's not what it is to be a human. And like, like obviously I feel like during quarantine, we're all kind of thinking those things. We're like, we all have to be good to each other. But yeah, got me right in the field.
I'm interested with the naysay. Okay, so Lego, what's your when I brought up Soul, you hid as I want to know.
Fuck cats. Thank you.
Oh yeah, you just don't like cats.
I don't like things where people swap bodies with animals.
Well, I should have known that right off the top of my head that would have been the reason why.
That's also fair. Like I don't know, the movie just didn't grab me, but with what you're talking about, like that's how I feel about Onward, but that movie just didn't have any good songs to talk about.
Great movie, but yeah, there's no
good movie. Maybe not the best music though, to be fair.
All right, I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off and I'm gonna go with one of the heavy hitters.
Oh, I'm excited.
Okay. I don't mean to steal anybody's thunder. Part of Your World is my favorite Disney song.
Damn straight, same.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We'll get to the Lion from The Little Mermaid. We'll get to the Lion King soundtrack later on, which is maybe the best soundtrack. Also Toy Story. But the specific song, Part of Your World, the older I get, I'll just be on a walk. And especially once that Haley Bailey version came out last year. Almost said the other name. By the way, when she goes up that octave, it just fucking chills. But
it's a good version.
Part of Your World, it's the whole vibe, the lyrics and the music, the melody, as somebody that's written a lot of songs, it's like, I love a great melody and it's just so all encompassing. And I think, sometimes, like how detailed that song is. She's singing about her journey and her wants, right? You use the term, the I want songs. Sometimes the more detailed a song is, the more universal it is because you just swap out whatever those details are for your own details. And I just feel like anybody can relate to it. You could say that about a lot of songs, but like for me, I just really relate to this song. And I'm just like, this is incredible. What an incredible, launch for the Disney Renaissance, if you will.
Yeah.
So we spent a little time talking about the Little Mermaid soundtrack kind of in general. So I'll toss it over to you guys.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about this the other day, and I think that if you were just like man on the street, like if Billy Eichner came up to you and was like, name your favorite Disney song, I would say Part of Your World. Now, if you were asking me what my overall favorite soundtrack is, it's The Lion King. But just like if you're taking one song that I think represents everything that a Disney song should be, that like just a musical song should be. I think it's part of your world. And yes, speaking of Howard, everyone should watch that. It's fantastic. It's on Disney Plus.
The Duck?
They took it off for a little bit and then it's back. No, it's a documentary about Howard Ashman. And the story behind the song, like, also like makes it mean so much more because like essentially, again, you know, this was the first time, I think The Little Mermaid was the first time that they really saw this as we're making a musical and the music should tell the story. And this song pushes the story forward. Like all the songs Little Mermaid do, but like this song literally, again, like it's at the beginning, it's the I Want song, it sets the scene, it explains to you why you should care about this character, why should you care about this story. And of course, you know, iconically, as the story goes, they did not want it in the film. They wanted to cut it. And Howard Ashman went to bat for it. And he's like, this is the fucking movie. Like, you're putting this song in this movie or there is no movie. Like, this is the heart and soul of the movie. And they were like, no, but like, it's slow and she's not really doing anything. She's like chilling down in this like little cave, like with her fork and, you know, her thingamabobs and whatever. And they're like, she's not doing anything. Like, kids want action, kids want a beat. And he was like, I am telling you, this is the movie. Like, this is the song that is going to explain this movie and why you should care about this character. And obviously he was right, which again, always trusting musicians, like obviously, like, you know, whatever, Disney execs clearly wrong. And it was such a success. It's the definitive song of the movie, one of the definitive Disney songs. And that song is the reason why we get so many other great songs, why we get, you know, Tale as Old as Time, why we get, you know, Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Like, you don't get that if you don't get Part of Your World, because Howard Ashman went to bat for the song and was like, this is what makes this movie. This is what's going to be the heart and soul of this movie. And he was right. And that is why we have so many of these great I Want songs and ballads in these Disney films that we wouldn't if he wouldn't have, you know, stuck up for what was clearly the right choice.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know any of that. That's mind blowing. I'm just totally mind blown. Yes, Mike, I will watch Howard.
It's so good. Like, the footage that they have, and it'll bring you to tears. It's just, he was an amazing man, amazing mind, and like, it is just crazy. And like, you know, when you think about the Beatles and like how short of a time they were together and the music they made, like that is how like Howard Ashman and Alan Menken are. Like, when you think about like how in the grand scheme of life, how little time they had to make music together, but the things that they produce, like, it's wild.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Staying with the Little Mermaid soundtrack, since we're just on the movie, might as well just cover it. Under the Sea, fucking great. Banger. Yeah. Kiss the Girl, Oscar, banger. You know, just incredible.
The entire soundtrack.
Okay, we're just going to leave off the only one I like.
What's the only one you like?
Poor Unfortunate Souls.
Poor Unfortunate Souls, great. Okay. Great villain song. It's like Poor Unfortunate Souls, Be Prepared, and Mother Knows Best are probably like my 3 all-time favorite Disney villain songs.
But I will say, if you really want to hear like what I think is just personally the best rendition is Titus Burgess singing Poor Unfortunate Souls. Oh, good. He ate that up. Every little morsel. Such a fun song.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite out of the Little Mermaid. I used to love Kiss the Girl until I got older and realized it's weird. It's real problematic. Which I really don't like. You're throwing real adult world context into what is a kid's Disney, but it's still like in retrospect. But as a kid, as a quasi reggae banger for like for a lot of people, it's their first introduction to reggae type Caribbean type deal. But yeah, definitely like that one. Like as I've gotten older, it has climbed up my like Disney ranking because for one thing, like Ursula is one of the best fucking characters period in Disney and deserves like I'm kind of glad there was a renaissance where people are like, no, this is actually one of the best villains they've ever done in any era that they've had of Disney. So
we'll have to do a Disney villain tier ranking episode. That would be fun.
We have a question. Is Princess Diaries a Disney movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I feel like I love that movie was making fun of like the idea that like the first kiss is when you can tell you love someone, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I love that played into that trope purposely to kind of make fun of it. Disney, you did a bad thing.
My sister Margaret My sister Margaret bought a copy of that on VHS at a thrift store we went to on last Sunday, and it was I was like,
love the princess.
because we had it at some point, and then it just got lost in time. And she's like, I gotta buy this. It's the Princess Diaries. I'm like, that's a great movie.
Great film. It's a great film.
I
The
have
books
never
are
seen
also very good. If anyone read them, Meg Cabot, my girl.
All right, Lego, what do you got next?
Okay, I will. I mean, people have been talking about it, so I'll just go ahead and go to Encanto. Listen, we don't talk about Bruno is amazing. Like that. I think that is the most technical like achievement of any Disney song I've ever heard. That song has so much going on. It's really, really spectacular. However, Surface Presser is my favorite song because I really.
Are you the eldest sister, Lego?
No,
Oh.
I'm a middle, but I have a very large family.
Well, that still kind of counts.
Well, Surface Pressure is Louisa, and she's the middle.
Yeah.
I get it. I think I was, although realistically, I think I was more of a. Oh, wait, am I mixing up their names?
I
don't
think
know,
you're
I
right.
saw
I
the
think
movie
it's
once.
I
Louisa.
think I was right, Louisa. What's the other sister's
Yeah.
name?
I'm
bad.
pretty sure that's right.
Isabella. Isabella was the oldest. I think I was like more treated like her though.
Mm.
Okay.
But oh god, Surface Pressure is such a great song. And I don't know who decided to design the donkeys like unicorns, but you are genius. And it's such a deep, just really beautiful song. And I think more than any other Disney song to me, I felt that the animation aligned with the song so perfectly. It really just deepened the story so significantly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think Encanto, to me, like Lion King and Encanto, best music out of Disney.
That movie 2021.
2022.
2022. Because I remember, I think they played the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" at the Oscars, but it wasn't even nominated for best song.
Yeah, they nominated the way wrong song.
Yeah.
But it's
'Cause
just
I
such a
remember
bop
watching
that, everyone wanted it, obviously.
Right.
It was a great song. And it's just so, that's another one of those songs that like clearly none of them expected to be a breakout hit. And then it was.
Well, you think Disney would learn at this point, like, maybe we should just trust our creatives because they're right more often than not.
I don't know. This man did have an insane, at least successful musical about a freaking founding father. So if he can make that interesting, he probably knows what he's talking about.
I mean, did he think it was going to be the most popular song?
No, he has gone on record of saying like he did not think that was going to be like
the one. Yeah. Telecom, you got anything to say about Encanto?
I've never seen it. This is one of my blackout. Like, if it wasn't played with my nieces and nephews, I didn't see it. And especially, did you say it came out in 2021? We were all we were 21, 22. We were still probably in the throes of where I wasn't seeing them as often. So that slipped in my radar. I think Coco was kind of like the last real Disney film that I remember like sitting besides Soul. I mean, of course, I brought that up, but otherwise, like that was the one that we played over and over again. So no, I don't have anything to add really to.
I liked Encanto.
I needed to see it,
but the soundtrack was really good. So.
Yeah. And no, it's honestly, it's a very good story. The soundtrack is so good. And it's one of those things where like the first time you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, a couple songs are like sticking with me. Like you get a couple earworms when you're like, if you were leaving the theater, watching at home, whatever. But it's like, the more you think about the songs, the more you listen, the more you're like, damn, these are really good songs.
Oh no, I was like pausing. I'm like, wait, what? And rewinding. Like, all right, that's great. And then with Surface Pressure, when it hits that pressure like a dip, 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 I'm like, oh wow. I've never like had to like fully stop a Disney film because the song was so good.
You're selling me on it. I need to go back and watch it because that's, like I said, it's just one of those ones that slipped through the cracks.
I mean, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I was gonna.
I have a complicated history with him. I don't think he deserves the praise that he gets. So.
I mean, as a writer, he's very talented. You don't think he's a talented writer?
Yeah. No, I do, but
he's a terrible singer.
You talk about
also like,
which he will admit,
and also as like a old school hip hop head, to say that Hamilton is quote unquote hip hop is almost laughable if you want to get into like the details of it, but that's where. But otherwise, I get why like he's talented. I actually like In the Heights better than
In the Heights is very good. Some great songs in the Heights.
Yeah, like so.
Right.
But yeah, like I don't want to go down the rabbit hole and also say like with my hot takes, I don't want this to be my Guardians.
I mean, as
into
someone who's a huge fan of horror, people get too bogged down into genre. Like, if it's called hip hop, it's not called hip hop. Who gives a flying fuck? Is it good? That's what matters.
Yeah.
Then I side on the no.
Sure.
So.
All right, Bethany, I think you're up next. What do you got?
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick 2-for-1 because
cool.
Time is of the essence. But also, we already discussed one that I was gonna talk about, so in depth. So I feel good. I'm gonna get these other quick ones out. Okay, and then we're gonna have to talk about Lion King at some point, but we're gonna get that.
We'll get to all that.
I just feel like I can't not bring up the Frozen of it all, because I know that, again, it's like love it or hate it. Some people are so over it. Some people remember every single word because their children or their nieces, their nephew or their cousin, like absolutely just like murdered their eardrums with it. And love it or hate it, you can't deny that they made some freaking earworms. They made some really great songs that mean a lot to a lot of people, and that's great. Another thing you should watch on Disney Plus, if you have not, is the making of Frozen 2. It'll make you cry. It'll make you really appreciate animators. I cannot stress enough how great of a docuseries it is. With that said, my favorite of the Frozen franchise is not from the original Frozen. Not to discredit any of those songs. I think that they are great. My favorite Frozen song is from Frozen 2, and it's not a really popular one, but I think it's the one that has the most heart, the most meaning behind it, knowing the story of where it came from, and that's The Next Right Thing. And again, I'd like to preface this with saying that this came out during COVID. I watched this one of the first few weeks of COVID, probably about week 2 of quarantine. We'd maybe just gotten the news that we were going to be shut down longer than the 2 weeks we were originally told. And the world was crumbling. We're all trying to look out for one another. And this song just like hit me where it needed to. Mike straight up fell asleep in this movie. He was taking a nap, and I'm sobbing as this song is playing in this movie because it is fucking phenomenal. It is beautiful. Bobby Lopez, obviously 2-time EGOT winner. Absolute icon, and obviously his writing partner and partner in life, Kristen Anderson Lopez. I'm sorry, they're great. They're geniuses. Like, again, love them or hate them, you can't deny that they clearly have some musical talent. But anyways, this is a really great song. It just, again, I think it just happened to be when it hit me. But if I'm ever feeling down, if I'm ever kind of questioning things, it's a song that I put on to kind of like get me through it. Because that's the whole thing, is it's not like about doing the best thing, whatever. It's just like, we're going to take this one step at a time. We're going to get up. We're going to do the next right thing. And then after that, we're going to do the next right thing. And we're going to get through this. And considering that it came out at the beginning of COVID for me, hit me at the right time. But the actual kind of story behind this song is that during the process of Frozen 2, one of the producers on the film lost a kid, lost his daughter, which is an unimaginable tragedy. Cannot fathom losing a child. And the writers were the songwriters of Bobby Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez were really struck by that. And there's a tragedy that happens in Frozen 2, spoilers, I guess. And they wrote this song, and it was kind of inspired by him struggling with the loss of a child, because that was, as their parents themselves, that was such an unimaginable thing to them. And that is basically what the song is about, is how do you face a grief like that? How do you face something so imaginable like that? And I just think that that's really powerful. And it's just, to me, it's, I think, the most powerful song in any Frozen film, but that's just my humble take.
I have not seen Frozen 2. I've seen parts of Frozen 1. I'm familiar with Let It Go because I don't live under a rock,
So everyone prepared their drink. I worked at the movie theater when that was out.
Hey, yes,
Cheers.
Oh boy, that was in the theater for a real long time.
Boy, was it.
Must have played for like 7 or 8 months. Just ridiculous. Although that wasn't the worst music that I had in the theater the worst was the end credits for the Lego movie, betrayed by my own people.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of times I had to hear
Yeah.
everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome.
I hate that
I'd be
song. I
down
hate
for
that
that,
song with the
honestly.
fury of 1,000 guns. Horrible.
I enjoyed a good credit music most of the time. Sometimes, yeah,
Depends
you
how
were
many
like,
times you have to see the
okay,
theater.
we don't want to hear everything is awesome anymore.
My classic one is I worked at the movie theater when Too Fast, Too Furious came out, so I had to listen to that Ludacris song.
Act of
Over.
Fool. Oh, that song slaps.
No, it
Zelda.
slaps maybe after the first 250 times you hear it, but after the 251st, you want to burn everything to the ground.
I love that song.
I think my favorite end credit song was
Unashamedly
for
love
The
that
Hunger
song.
Games.
The Hunger Games?
Yeah, they had some good end music.
The Hunger Games, yes. Taylor Swift doing her first foray into what would end up becoming Folklore and Evermore years later.
I think
I'm telling you,
she teamed
Safe
up
and
with
Sound. That's what, and Eyes Open, is what really. And I remember all the way back in 2012 when Safe and Sound came out, I said yes, more of this. And my prayers were answered when Folklore and Evermore came out, and that's why they're two of my favorite Taylor Swift albums.
You use a lot of words I don't know.
Eventually, we'll do a Taylor Swift special. Helen will be here for that one too.
So. I'm inviting myself on. Thank you.
Oh yeah, obviously.
I like that you said special and not an EMBC because I want nothing to do.
I just said Taylor Swift special because
I
don't think Lego or Dela want to co-host that show with me.
The Gingers will be here. Helen will be here, and we're gonna have a great time. Y'all will be sad that you missed out.
I've seen the name Taylor Swift before.
Oh, so you're not going to another country to see her in concert? Oh, okay.
I was there when the Tim McGraw music video premiered and nobody knew who she was, but I was watching the CMT countdown because I liked country music at the time.
What words are these?
Yeah.
Exactly.
These are all words that make so much sense to me. It's the wild thing.
I don't know anything you just
said.
said.
A whole other language to Lego.
Don't want to make this. I don't want to make this about Taylor Swift, but my only reference to her is especially in 4-H, people knowing her during the fair circuit when she was really starting out and had nothing but good things to say about her and her family. So
yeah,
I can't get on board with the Taylor Swift hate, but I also cannot get on board with the Taylor Swift. I'm very much the most indifferent person.
Have you heard?
I got my Reputation poster up.
Yeah.
No, because I have a feeling, knowing my musical taste, if you put Taylor Swift, if I start to go down the music rabbit hole, then that's where we're going to have some real problems.
Right.
I want to keep her at neutral right now with me. I don't want to.
I don't want to get into it.
Mike wants to know when the Metallica show is. We'll put it on the list. It's on the list. All right. Dela Common, what's your next pick?
So I'm going to go kind of old school on this, and I'm going to preface this by saying this one, in retrospect, that has one of the most offensive songs in the history, and that's "Lady and the Tramp" with Siamese.
Great song though.
I disagree. I was saying this is there's a song that I like even better on that soundtrack, and the reason why I enjoy it so much is because it has the great singer Peggy Lee. Does a couple of the songs on there. So Peggy Lee, if you don't know the song "Fever." Once again, random Pocahontas shout out because in the lyrics of Fever they talk about Pocahontas and John Smith. But Fever is a fantastic, and I think that was a really good choice, especially that time period. I believe this came out in 1955.
That sounds right.
And I just the fact that they got somebody kind of iconic, especially with that voice, to sing. What's the actual song? What song did she sing?
The only
He's a Tramp. He's a Tramp.
Oh, right.
That's my favorite one of that. And yeah, like I said, it's problematic. It goes toe and toe to me with the problems that Dumbo has with the crows.
Sure.
When it comes to Disney, of course, once again, we're talking pre, even the Civil Rights Act. So we're not really thinking in the most woke.
Right. Dumbo's 20 years pre-Civil Rights Act.
Yeah. I was gonna say and so but yeah, I very much love the fact that they actually had Peggy Lee and she actually sings in it. And outside of Siamese. Is it Dream or no? I'm thinking of Siamese Dream is the Smashing Pumpkins. That song. It's a fantastic.
We are
it's a fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's not go. Let's not go
I'm not
any
going to
further
say
on
anymore. I
that.
promise.
But very much appreciate like them having Peggy Lee in that, and I think it's kind of a sleeper when it comes to like when they had great musicians and vocalists actually doing Disney songs. So yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if anybody else got it on their list, but like going off Lady and the Tramp, like speaking of the soundtrack just as a whole, like this is the night, you know, I mean, it's like, oh, it's so beautiful.
That was for the movie?
I don't know.
But it's on soundtrack.
That's a good question.
That's a good question, honestly.
Really good question.
I thought it predated it.
It might?
May have.
No idea. I feel like it might be original. No, I don't know now. I'm questioning myself.
I'd look it up, but it's I'm up next. So unless you guys want to talk about Lady and the Tramp,
So much. Hit us with your pick, Rob.
All right, so let's just do another little big banger here. So You've Got a Friend in Me is incredible, absolutely incredible. My favorite song off the Toy Story soundtrack is Strange Things. I was on top of the world living high.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Strange things are happening to me. So just in general, let's take a few minutes here and talk about the phenomenal words and music of the great Randy Newman, ladies and gentlemen. And the Toy Story soundtrack at large. If you guys have songs that you like from any of the sequels, feel free to bring them up. Those are the two songs I wanted to make sure I mentioned from the Toy Story soundtrack. There's a lot of great ones, though. You know, I think of like Jessie's song from the second one.
When She Loved Me, that's my favorite.
Well, go for it. Let's talk about Toy Story.
That song, I don't know who sings it. It's just, it's so lovely. And those words, they're so true. And it's just heartbreaking. It's just absolutely devastating. Yeah. Every hour spent together lives within my heart. Just stab me with a knife. Mm-hmm. And the animation that goes with the song is really just spectacular. It really tells the story. It gives you so much insight into why Jessie is the way that she is. What a great, great song. Kind of wish it matched the voice better. It's Joan Cusack is the voice of Jessie, right?
Yeah.
The singing
obviously, it's not quite.
Most of the others, they do a pretty good job, but that is like very blatantly not the same. Like I think that's the most great case of that speaker is not the singer.
Gosh, Toy Story, right in the face.
I just also want to interject because we're already on a roll. I do not have to be out until midnight, so we are good. Like on my end, so we can go longer because we're already past an hour. Rob's like, we're gonna go an hour, and I'm like, Rob, when have we ever gone an hour?
Really
unprofessional. Rob was like, we'll go an hour or 2 hours. I'm like, I don't think we'll be that long. We ended up going 3 hours. You're bad at this.
See, I was about to put in the private chat, but it's really unprofessional. I'll just say it on there. I was about to put in the private chat, like I think we could squeeze 2 more rounds in, but yeah, we'll just keep talking for a while. But no, I mean, like Toy Story, like even like the songs with the lyrics are great, but I mean, like even the whole fucking score.
The score is beautiful. Yeah,
Randy Newman, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
Also, Newman. Finding Nemo, the score of Finding Nemo, right in the fucking feels. Up, like Michael Giacchino's score for Up. Just while we're doing like Pixar scores real quick, just God, there's so many good ones.
I also love for the outside because I love Randy Newman outside of this. It is kind of nice, like the guy who did Short People Have No Reason to Live and I Love LA and kind of those very much a cult guy. And like it's almost like if they had Warren Zevon to me do at Disney. Like that's kind of like the tone it was, and it's very nice to get like that he got his flowers for, even though like I'm like you should really check out like I Love LA is so fucking
I mean, like you should just go buy his first 5 albums because they're all incredible, you know.
But it is very nice that even though it's almost kind of like, and since we're going a little bit longer, I can bring up about like the Tarzan thing. It's very nice that people went back and appreciated, even though if it's not for the work itself, of like just say like Phil Collins, like people who didn't grow up in the 80s and to the 90s and had Phil Collins, like especially Phil Collins and Genesis, like shoved down your throat to an unimaginable degree.
Right.
And I mean that in retrospect in a good way, because it took me a long time to come around on Phil Collins. I have a really funny, depressing story about that my mom and I laugh about Phil Collins. But what I'm saying, but to get back on track on the Randy Newman, it is very nice that he got his flowers and got recognition and got more attention to his other works, not just because of something that was so pop culture and monumental. Because when Toy Story came out in 92?
95.
95, so I was 10 when that came out, and that hit like a wave that like I still don't think, like, as big as it is, like it being the first Pixar quote unquote big heavy hitter, I still don't think people give like the credit to the impact that I think it's still understated. But it's nice that like Randy Newman was involved in it, and a guy with a career like that in the musicianship, and that he got his flowers with that and got recognized. So that was my dissertation on that.
Rob's going to go on a little music history rant real quick. You know, I echo everything you're saying, Del Comic. Here's what I'll add. I would argue that people under the age of 50 probably are familiar more with Randy Newman's work on Disney soundtracks at this stage of the game than they are his great song, like all of the great music he put out in the 70s and the 80s. There was this movie called Begin Again with Keira Knightley and Mark Ruffalo, came out like 10 years ago. And there's a scene where they're in a bar and they're musicians and they're talking about music, and they're like, greatest songwriter ever, whatever. And they both say Randy Newman. Cause like you would assume they would say like Bob Dylan, right? They say Randy Newman. And I'm watching the movie and I'm just like, yes. You say Warren Zevon? Dude, I could totally have seen him doing a Disney soundtrack. I mean, how great would it be if they opened a Disney movie with like Lawyers, Guns, and Money or something? You know what I mean? Like that would just be like fucking crazy. Sorry, I'm going way deep with Warren Zevon right now.
But we're talking about like cult songwriter musicians from that era. That's like what it almost was like. Wait, you're putting Randy Newman, and of course I was 10, so I knew of Toy Story before I knew Randy Newman. Right. So it's very interesting that like that kind of that gave him more of a cultural cachet than he had for his already great
and it gave people a great jumping off point to go, wow, I really like this music. And then, you know, especially now that we live in the digital era, like you can just go on Spotify and type and go like, oh wow, like look at all of this stuff. Like, oh, he did the theme song for Monk, you know, and blah 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 blah. I mean, it's like, again, I would argue without getting into specifics, because I'm sure we're going to cover these movies in the next 10-15 minutes, but Phil Collins, Elton John, some of these guys, I think for a lot of people that didn't grow up with classic rock in their house like I did, or a lot of us did, that was their introduction to these artists, you know? So anyway.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So where were we? I think Lego, you're up.
I was going to say Lego, I think.
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and do The Lion King. Okay, I know everyone wants to shout out Circle of Life, but here's the thing. I'm all about the toxic positivity that is the problem-free philosophy. Freaking Hakuna Matata all day, every day. Love that song. I also really like I Just Can't Wait to Be King, because it's the one of the very few songs that
there is no wrong choice on the Lion King soundtrack is the thing. It is just hit after hit after hit. Like there's no wrong choice. They're all great. 10 out of 10. Every single one of them.
Can we bring up the TikTok that I found that I sent to Rob about the adult Simba? And this will tie into your love, Bethany, of a certain composer. So I didn't know until I was approaching 40 that the guy who does the adult voice of Simba singing is the guy who is also the lead singer of Toto, who is also the son of John Williams. Like that was a Russian nesting doll of like mind-blowing facts.
That blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
I was just like, so I just want to bring that up. The fact that like that guy, he also did the Gummy Bears theme song.
Right.
Like
sorry, the what?
The Gummy Bears.
The animated show.
It
was the TV show.
Look
I know
it up,
Lego. Yeah,
You probably know it, but you don't realize that you know it. Situation.
Lego knows the Snorks. Lego got me into the Snorks because I'd never watched the
Oh, the
Snorks.
Snorks.
Right, I know. I know.
Yes.
But yeah,
So I mean,
Lion King, you can't go wrong. Like that's, I think that and
Right.
Aladdin to me are like 1 and 2 of like as a
Good point.
kid, like just that might as well been like all I listened to probably when I was like sneaking a little Led Zeppelin here and there, but otherwise it was pretty much like when it comes to Disney music, those two were just like
how have
bangers.
we not done a Zeppelin episode yet? By the way, so here's
It's probably like the Springsteen where we have to figure out how we're gonna do it because we can't do.
let's
like,
start
a
with Led
15
Zeppelin
hour-
2. We're gonna do a whole episode just on Led Zeppelin 2 and go from there. So
Add
back
to
to
the
the
list.
Lion King. So yes, obviously Circle of Life, or Circle of Life. I mean, that song gives me chills every time I hear it.
Name
the
a more
first,
cinematic song. Like
the
you
first
can't.
2 notes, everybody recognizes it, right?
Yeah.
And can't wait to be king. Hakuna Matata. Didn't say that right. Hakuna Matata. Incredible. But for me, at the end of the day, like if I ever get married, like it would be in contention for my wedding song. Can You Feel the Love Tonight by Sir Knighted by the Queen, Sir Elton John.
Also, again, the reason why the live action remake is god awful because they had one job and it was to place that song at night, and they're frozen out in the daytime.
That everything about that movie was incorrect.
So bad.
I've still not seen it out of principle.
You're not missing a goddamn thing. Don't watch it. I'm not someone who usually walks out of a movie theater, but when that scene came up and it's broad ass daylight and they're singing that song to each other, I was like, I'm so tempted right now. We just walk out. We can just walk out. I'm so annoyed. I am mad, honestly, about this situation.
Remember the weird controversy during that song where he supposedly lays down and the word sex comes up in the
right.
like,
Well, it's supposed to be FX, for the special effects department.
I just remember that being like a big like pearl clutching moment for the conservative right wing during the time period.
All the subliminal messages behind.
What are you guys talking about? Subliminal messages? Did they not see the overt lion sex eyes? You don't have to look deep.
Yeah, it's
very obviously in the story.
Yeah, it's also like, Lion King's just great. Also taking elements of Hamlet as because I'm a Shakespeare nerd, like clearly taking the bare bones of that and then building like a kid's structural movie is kind of interesting with that. So I love the Lion King still to this day. I think it's probably the most important Disney film of like my run.
Of all time. I would argue between Toy Story and The Lion King. And I know I'm a man, and I know those are both movies that have males as leads. So anybody feel free to argue my point. But like in terms of like importance from the last 50 years, I don't know. Those are pretty important Disney films.
I don't think I can name a better Disney animated film. Like The Lion King is like everything to me.
Totally.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. Nala is clearly the hero of that story.
Nala's awesome.
Yeah, see, there's a lot of strong female characters in it. So it's
Jeremy Irons' Scar. That was just peak.
Yeah.
Be prepared.
Peak.
But he doesn't actually.
I think that's my favorite Disney villain song.
You got all right. Time out. You got Jonathan Taylor Thomas doing the young Simba, Matthew Broderick doing the older Simba. You got Nathan Lane, Jeremy Irons, James Earl Jones. Okay,
it is an all-time cast like going on.
God, it's good. Like, do you think that they had to know, but I don't think they knew. Just like what a perfect storm, like just how goddamn good it was. Like the perfect cast. You get Elton John in there. You get it's the best soundtrack. The animation is beautiful. The story is great. Again, yes, obviously we're basing it, loosely on the story of Hamlet. Like, God,
I'm just now unlocking a memory. This may be the first movie I ever cried in front of like my older cousins. I remember my cousin Julie took me to see this movie, like at our old movie theater, and I just remember just being a puddle of like just like ugly crying type deal. And like I don't think I've had that in any other Disney film before or since.
Right.
Like,
and I would even argue it's top 10 greatest movie opening scenes of all time.
Yeah.
Like in the history of film.
Just in film. Yeah, I agree, honestly. God, it's good. That's so good. Like, it's just everything about it is so cinema. Like the entire opening, the Circle of Life, that entire song I said, like, name me a more cinematic song. You can't. The animation of it, like the actual opening sequence, like how lucky were we, honestly? Like, you know, that meme that's like, you know, in the entire universe, like you happen to live at a time where this existed. But the fact that we were kids and we got to like experience that, like that happened in our lifetime, especially it happened in our lifetime as children, like blessed.
That was my first movie I saw in the theater.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Like, what? I peaked at 3 years old, y'all.
I think about the first movie in the theater, and I just saw Dune 2 again the other day, and I'm like, yeah, no, I've seen a lot of masterpieces.
I've good. I've had a good.
Made younger than you guys. I did not see this in the theater, but this is a movie that, like, for me, always existed. Yeah. So, like, I don't like have a memory of this predating my existence on this planet. Yeah. Although I did have a Lion King birthday one year, which is pretty cool. Ooh. And I kept the little. My mom put like Simba on the cake, and I remember I kept it. Oh yeah,
that's so cool. Me and Helen were Simba and Nala for Halloween when the year came out. So she was like 2 and I was like 4. So yeah.
But when I was working at the theater.
Drink.
Yeah, right. I gotta get more water.
They had redistributed it to the theaters, and I was doing theater walks at that time. So I was scheduled to walk in right when Mufasa died, and like Simba's trying to wake him up. So for like a month, I had to watch that like 5 times a day. It was a depressing time in my life. But I feel like the only movie I could even begin to equate it to for me would be The Land Before Time, which I actually do like a little bit more. Yep. It doesn't have the same music, but like in terms of like just like a child and like losing a parent and the intensity of trying to like find a home and family, I think both of those films are really up there for me and a lot more alike than people maybe give it credit for. And a side note, Don Bluth deserves more respect. Thank you for your time.
No, I was gonna say like you can go down the rabbit hole with. I mean, Land Before Time was my before the Disney wave hit was my everything. Like I still have in storage my stuffed Littlefoot that I refuse. That's the one thing as a kid I will refuse to give up.
Right.
I definitely had one too. I wish I still did.
As a side note,
myself one.
As a side note, just for anybody that might not be as familiar with like the whole pantheon of film history. So the 80s was kind of like a little bit of a lull for Disney animated. Don Bluth was killing it. Was he at Universal? Lego? What do you know what studio he was with?
I think Universal.
Don Bluth Animation, because he did An American Tail, Land Before Time, whole bunch of stuff.
Who did All Dogs Go to Heaven?
I think that was also Don Bluth.
Yes, that was.
Yeah.
Which was the funny thing about Oliver and Company being kind of the first kickoff is you already had All Dogs Go to Heaven, and then you had a dog and cat centric Oliver Twist type story going on with Oliver and Company as your kind of like your kickoff to what would be your renaissance.
Right.
We're big into dogs.
Oh, Secret of Nim.
We're big into dogs currently. Right, Lego?
At all times.
I in retrospect, I wish I had named my dog Little Paw. Would have been a great name. Sometimes I call her that.
Next dog.
Next, yeah. It's number 2.
I know. That sounds bad. I apologize.
Trying to kill my dog, you bastard.
No, you can have another dog. You can.
No. She's an only puppy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. I respect that.
All right. Yeah. So The Lion King. Bethany, what do you got next?
All right, so Lion King's been mentioned, Little Mermaid has been mentioned. There's one more classic that we want to mention, but as I discussed earlier, guys, I know I'm the only one on the stream who apparently has love for Mulan, but I just got to give some love to Mulan.
No, I very much love
Go for
Mulan.
it.
Literally, it's one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. Like, it's in my top 3. True story. And again, like I said, I know she's not like a stereotypical princess, but technically she's my favorite princess. I really the entire soundtrack. This is also like The Princess and the Frog. Any song, pick it, throw a dart at it. It's great. I have to give obviously some love to. I mean, honestly, just all of it. But I'll Make a Man Out of You is obviously one of the most iconic ones. Everyone loves that one. Again, that's another like I'm working out. I'm putting that on. I'm like, let's get down to business. Also, sometimes when I just like need to motivate myself to clean my house, I put that song on. No lie. But again, as a sucker for an I Want song, as a sucker for a good emotional ballad that I can just like belt out when I'm in my feels, Reflection has just always meant a lot to me since I was a little girl. It still means a lot to me. I just think it's a beautiful song. I think, again, it's just, again, I'd like to thank Howard Ashman for fighting for part of your world so we could get a reflection. It's a song that sets up the soul of the movie, that makes you care about Mulan, that makes you care about her journey. And I just think that for anyone who's ever, felt a little unsure of themselves or figuring out who they are, which is every single person coming of age, or felt a little on the outside, it's just one of those things where you're just like, when will my reflection show who I am inside? Like, why, I feel this way. I want to be this person. And I just think it's a beautiful song and it means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to a lot of people. So I think just from the emotional standpoint, I would pick that. But I mean, obviously I'll Make a Man Out of You, Girl Worth Fighting For, Honor to Us All. There's so many beautiful songs, so many great songs, catchy songs, fun songs on the soundtrack. But I think if you're getting to the heart and soul of what makes Mulan Mulan, you have to obviously give some love to Reflection. It's great.
I think I need to rewatch Mulan because, like I said, I've only seen it once, and you're really selling me on it with that little rant there. So
it's really good. It's really, really good. I think it's probably the most underrated of like Disney films, especially
Also,
of the last.
we haven't talked about the Aristocats yet.
Times. Quite dark.
Yeah, that's true.
But
so for me, I just that era or the trope Disney have of like the annoying sidekick. I really just can't stand it, and I don't like that little dragon guy.
Mushu can be a bit much sometimes, but it's Eddie Murphy. Like he's doing Eddie Murphy.
Like maybe that's why I don't like him because I don't like Donkey either.
So in terms of Eddie Murphy character work, Mushu or Donkey? I'm going Donkey all day.
I go Donkey.
In the morning, I'm making waffles.
I'm going Mushu. I have some like Mushu like leggings that I love. I just really love Mulan.
That's great. Love it.
But I don't know if Mulan is necessarily without problems as well. There is this, I know the live action one, there is this phenomenal, she's a writer and she did this huge video essay where she got a whole bunch of people together from different areas in Asia to talk about how it was not great representation. And it's very informative. I'll find the video and drop it in the Discord. It's a really good video.
This is not to say that the animated one isn't without flaws, because it is. But I think that the problem with the live action one is they made things, weirdly enough, in the live action one, they made things more magical. In the animated one, it's just a girl who, her dad obviously is old. She wants to fight. She wants to be a warrior. So she pretends to be a man. And yes, obviously there's a talking dragon because it's a Disney animated film. But having read the original Fall Mulan story, that's pretty accurate. That part is pretty true. Now, in the live action film, they add a lot of like witch and sorcerer and whatever. And it does turn into like Asian people, the East is about, you know what I mean? Like it turns into that. And again, I understand, I appreciate them casting, obviously, this gave an opportunity for a lot of, Asian actors and actresses to have a role, and their voices, they tried to have behind the scenes and in front of the scenes and whatever. And that's great. But it did turn into this weird, like, mystical thing. And it's like, no, like, just because it's Eastern culture doesn't mean we have to, like, turn it into that. Which, again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I can understand how that's problematic. Again, I'm not saying that the animated film doesn't have its issues. But I think in a weird way, the animated film is less like that's other them, you know what I mean,
Right.
than like the live action film is. But I had to read a Fa Mulan in college actually, and as a big fan of the Disney animated film, I was like, oh well, okay, and I was like, oh, actually, like there is so much in Chinese culture that does have to do with that, and that is someone who they hold with such reverence. So again, the fact that a lot of white people were involved in the animated film, probably slightly problematic. Not probably, definitely. But obviously, they did have some obviously Asian actors, Chinese actors
Right.
take on their roles. But Donny Osmond being the voice of a male Chinese character, maybe not the best, but the 90s.
Great song though. Great song.
Great song though. It's so good,
Great
y'all.
song.
It's so good. I know it's a great song. But yeah.
So, wait, so Leonard Kim says this in the chat. So did they they got rid of the music
yeah.
for the live action one?
Yeah, which is a big effing problem. to be
hard
honest.
pass.
Hard
Oh,
pass.
see, like I'm all for. I generally don't like musicals, so if you want to remake it and make it not a musical, I'm into it. Like
No,
Wicked,
I'm missing
I love Wicked. I like the book. I do like the play, but I do wish they were making an animated version of the book, not of the musical. Although I'm super excited, and I'm definitely going to see it.
That trailer looked really weird to me. I don't know.
My sister sent me a text immediately going, "You know what you're doing Thanksgiving evening. Like, you have no choice. You are taking your nieces to see this movie." And I'm like,
I love a
It's
good
Wicked.
musical. I just think so much of any, especially in the Renaissance era of Disney films. Again, the story is being told through music. So since so much of Mulan was told through music, to then take it out of the live action, it just...
what are you doing
fell
here?
flat.
Like, that's one of those, what are we doing here?
Yeah. What are we doing here? Why are we doing this? Why are we adding this weird, mystical, magical shit that doesn't need to be added to this story? Okay.
Conversely, I think that Beauty and the Beast would have been a lot better if they'd removed the music or had hired actually people who could sing. One or the other.
Wait, the live action one or the animated one?
The live action
live
Beauty and the
action.
Beast.
Oh, okay. That's
I
I refuse
No,
to
no,
watch
no,
that.
no.
Yeah, I
That's a
I
hot
never
take.
wanna
A hot
take the
take.
music
So
out
she
of
said
things.
the
Right,
But I
animated
right.
think
was
we could
not
have hired
like.
better people.
I'm like, well, here, and then I was like, you just torpedoed my whole next segment for me. My next.
Oh,
one was
good.
gonna
Are you
be
doing it? Are
Beauty.
you doing it next?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
doing Beauty and the Beast.
Okay,
the
I was
original.
gonna say it's finally coming up.
Tales old
Yeah,
as
it's finally
time.
coming
Hold
up
on.
because
Da,
to me,
da, da, da. Oh,
of that era, it is in the Mount Rushmore. If we get 4, we get Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Lion King, and Beauty and the Beast are it for me. This was like the prime one. How can you not love this fucking soundtrack? Like Gaston, Be Our Guest, like then you had the Celine Dion and Peebo Bryson version of like the main theme. Like it's just one of those, like it was all encompassing, if I remember correctly, in like 91.
Great soundtrack.
So I would have been
so
I would have been 6. No, yeah, I would have been 6 years old. So this was kind of like one of the just like I Mike brought up earlier that he thought that actually Beauty and the Beast is probably better than Lion King when it comes to, and that's an argument that I could actually.
He said Lion King should have got the Best Picture nomination. Like they nominated the wrong animated movie for Best Picture. I think.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, I
that's
thought he
They
said
didn't
something
come out
about
the same
Beauty.
year, though.
No, I know, but just because Beauty and the Beast got the Best
Beast
Picture
got
nomination.
the Best Picture nomination, and the Lion
To
King didn't.
clarify what Mike said, he said this isn't not. Oh, never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're talking about the
You're
Lion
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I was wrong.
King.
I
Pay
was
attention
wrong.
to the
Okay.
chat.
Okay. Okay.
Also,
But
just
still,
I know that Lion King wasn't nominated and Beauty and the Beast was. So just from that.
But just for frame of reference, and we'll get back to Beauty and the Beast. Lion King came out in 1994. Here are the 5 Best Picture nominees for 1994.
Oh,
The Shawshank
geez.
Redemption, Forrest Gump, Pulp
I mean,
Fiction,
Shawshank didn't win, but it should have.
right? 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and why am I
fuck is that?
blanking on the 4th one? Well,
Who
that one's
cares?
fine.
None
I'm
of
blanking
these
on the
are
5th
better
one,
than
but yeah.
Shawshank, which is one of the greatest films that has
Right.
ever been released in the history of cinema.
But the Lion King might be better.
Possibly.
I have to watch them back
Might
to
be
back.
better. Like, no offense
I
to
have to
Shawshank
watch them
Redemption, which
back
is a
to
great film.
That's a weird double feature. I'm gonna
But
watch
very-
Shawshank
I
Redemption
mean,
and then watch
you gotta go
Lion King.
Shawshank then Lion King, right?
I think so,
Right. Because you just carry that uplifting.
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
The
I like
Lion
that.
King. I think
It's
that's
still-
all.
That's like, apples and pears to me.
or Hakuna Matata.
All right. So back to Beauty and the Beast. Be our guest.
Great
I mean,
contract, though, truly.
Kayla's, yeah.
The gray stuff is delicious. If you ever get to try it at Be Our Guest in Walt Disney World, do recommend.
And it's this is also, I preface this by saying I went nowhere near the live action. I have never seen a frame of the live action.
No.
I will never watch it live. Because
so I went to a drive-in and they were playing that with Kong on Skull Island, and I really can't convey to you how much I love Kong on Skull Island. It's $8 for a double feature. Come on.
Double feature, like what are we doing?
It was a real nice night out, just laying under the stars, watching some movies. That's how you do it. You could be playing the worst movie. You could be playing Cannibal Holocaust. I hate that movie. And just relaxing under the stars and a hot Georgia night. Great.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Quiz Show was the other 94 Best Picture nominee.
Never even heard of it.
Anyways, back to.
May I also recommend Beauty and the Beast? Fantastic film. I don't think anything tops the animated, but to go on to earlier in discussing Tarzan, how I think it works better, the Broadway show works better. Beauty and the Beast also great as a Broadway show. Be Our Guest is just such a great song. The obviously the animated number is great, but seeing that like in a musical, like on a Broadway show, like it's so good. It's just that is meant to be a lavish number, and it is, and it just knocks it out of the park every time.
Also,
can I sidetrack it? I do think that Beauty and the Beast could get another version, but from Beast's point of view, because I think that actually ends up being the more interesting story. Because, I mean, think about it. The last time this guy had a woman in his house, she cursed him into becoming a monster. And in the actual, most of the stories, they don't turn his servants into monsters, which is a whole other conversation that I have done a deep dive into. But I mean, he's basically been alone for like 10 years. So I can understand why this guy might have some externalized misogyny going on. Like there's a little lady hating him.
And social issues.
But social issues. And he's got to get this, lovely young erudite woman to fall in love with him. He can't even read in most of the stories. It's so sad.
He's like Charlie.
But also, like, while I agree with you, that'd be interesting in the world that we live in right now with the insult culture. Go nowhere near that concept. Like, don't even.
I think it could be really beneficial.
I don't think people can internalize that sort of nuance.
Kind of like a American Psycho. Like some dude wrote this at some point. Bret Easton Ellis is a douchebag. I will stand by that. Anyway, but then have women like we'll do the script and make the movie.
And then watch them. I'm just saying, I love the concept, but like the culture we have right now.
What I've learned from watching 14 seasons of Degrassi is people love a whoopee, and nobody is more of a whoopee than Beast, who they don't even name.
I've learned from watching 14 seasons of Degrassi. It's how all sentences should start.
And I also watched Next Class, and I watched some of the OG. A lot of Degrassi was consumed.
I mean, listen.
Somebody filed the paperwork to get her deported
I'm
to
your
Canada.
girl. I love me some Degrassi. I've probably watched all of it too, to be honest. Well, I've never watched like the OG.
I've watched some of it. It's fine.
Yeah.
So back to Beauty and the Beast. I gotta get this out. So Gaston was my favorite song as a kid.
So
of course it is.
Of course it is. This is the same era when I'm watching like Indiana Jones and stuff, Taylor's Oldest Time, Angela Lansbury. Again, if I ever get married, that's in the running for my wedding song. It's absolutely incredible. But I also want a quick plug. So I watched this movie when I was in college. I believe it came out in 1946, the French film La Belle et la Bête. I don't ever pronounce French things right. Legos.
I've noticed that.
Going to pronounce them better than me. But not a musical, but an incredible adaptation of Beauty and the Beast. I've seen it like 3 times now. It might still be on HBO Max under Turner Classic Movies. I'm not sure. It's been a couple years. But I strongly recommend that film if you guys ever get a chance to watch that. So
Also,
Good
if
stuff.
you're looking for the best Cinderella adaptation, it is Ever After starring Drew Barrymore, and no one can tell me better.
Yes. 1,000%. I loved that movie when I was a
I
kid.
can't remember who played her, but there was a 1960s made-for-TV Cinderella that they used to play on the Disney Channel a lot when I was a kid, and I really liked that. I haven't seen it in 25 years though. So
I don't know what this is now. I'm intrigued.
Rob, did you think that
I want to say it
Gaston
came out in
was the hero?
65. What's that?
Did you think that Gaston was the hero?
No, not at all. I loved Beast. I was like, Gaston had the great
song. It is
song.
a tragedy they didn't name him. They didn't give him a name.
They
I'm
never
still
gave
so
him
mad
a
about it.
name.
Still so hot about it. I'm never gonna get over
Wait,
it.
Beastie has a name. His name is Adam.
In the OG movie, they said his name was Anna Wynn.
Is that ever actually mentioned? I don't know.
No.
But his name is that.
It's also let's
I'm
be
aware
honest.
his
It's an
name is Adam, but I've seen
underwhelming
the original
name.
1980 or was it 1989? 1991
It is
movie. The
kind of
original
91.
1991 movie. They
1991, yeah.
never gave that kid a name. And I'm still
The
so
19
No, but it is just always been known. And I don't also Robbie Benson, who voices the Beast, absolute icon. He went on to be a composer. So he actually is in music now. Fantastic, just overall great guy. He came to do the Candlelight Processional at Epcot one year, which was great because he was telling a story of Christmas in his beautiful, like, Beast voice. But also he just really obviously appreciated the music because there's a conductor and there's a full, symphony orchestra playing the trumpets, the whole 9 yards. And it's me and Mike's all-time favorite Candlelight Processional, and we've seen some greats. We've seen Warwick Davis, who was fantastic, Neil Patrick Harris, Josh Gad, but honestly, Robbie Benson was my all-time favorite Candlelight Processional celebrity guest. Mostly just because you could just tell how much he appreciated the music and everything. And he did turn to the conductor at one point and just said, "You, sir, are magnificent." And it was great.
What is a candlelight processional?
So it is this wonderful thing at Disney World. Well, it actually takes place at Disneyland and Disney World. It's one of the things that is a Walt Disney staple. Like he actually instituted it during his tenure when he was still alive. And they used to do it just one night at Disneyland where they would tell the story of Christmas. So it is quite religious in a sense. But honestly, I love it just because of the music and so they have a whole, basically, like I said, the little orchestra, and they have a choir. So at Epcot, the Voices of Liberty, which are fantastic singers, they do great shows. If you're ever in Epcot, please sign up at the American Pavilion and give the Voices of Liberty your time because they're fantastic. So they come out and they sing, and then they have a bunch of different high school choirs that join them, and they literally all walk in with candlelight, hence it is the Candlelight Processional. And so a celebrity guest comes and narrates the story of Christmas. So here we are, like Bethlehem, all that jazz. But if you can get over the religious undertones, it is fascinating. It is just a very lovely, like 30 to 45 minutes of your time. And again, just beautiful music. Full orchestra. There's this one lady who has been in the Disney orchestra for years. I love watching her. She plays quite a few different instruments. She does different percussion and stuff. And she is just so fun to watch. And again, there's two different conductors. The one conductor definitely is a little faster. The other conductor is a little slower. They tell when they toward the end, they get away from the story of Christmas for a hot second, and they tell the story of Silent Night and how it was formed, and they do it in its original German, which is beautiful. They turn it to the audience, and we all do it in English. And if it doesn't give you chills, you're not human. And it's great. And yeah, this year they had Sterling K. Brown. So many.
Oh, no way!
A lot. Has Sajak. So many great people come to narrate it. John Stamos is another staple. Neil Patrick Harris does it annually because he basically wants a free Disney trip for his family, which I respect. He's really good. And everyone kind of gives their own spin. Like, obviously, there's a script. They have Cheetah Rivera, speaking of Broadway royalty. She's fantastic. The way she rolls her R on merch, she's like, Murr. Oh, chef's kiss. But they all give it their own little spin. They have to follow the script, obviously, for like the story of Christmas. But at the end, they'll kind of give it their own little bit. Like Josh Gad talked about how he grew up and he watched this and he thought how cool it would be and like what a dream come true it was to do it. And he, offered all the kids a warm hug from Olaf, and like they all like add their own spin. Like, and Robbie Benson did a little Beast voice for everyone at the end, and Neil Patrick Harris is very funny, and so they all kind of put their own little spin on it. Warwick Davis pronounces Bethlehem as Bethlehem, and it's the cutest thing ever. And yeah, I highly recommend it. Again, like I said, obviously religious undertones, but it is.
That's fine for me.
Like music, if you want to see some great performers. if you want to see, you know, a little orchestra live in a fun little setting, I highly recommend it.
How has Disney not hired you to just be the spokesperson on national television, plug in the best kept secrets of Disney World? Because everybody's like, oh, let's go to the Star Wars park, but like this sounds awesome.
Like, let me tell you about the candlelight procession this year. Honestly, there's so many great hosts. Like, it was I didn't end up getting to go down this year, and I was really sad about that. But I do make an annual pilgrimage usually. I've seen quite a few hosts. Like I said, strangely enough, we're like, oh yeah, Robbie Benson, that'll be fun. And I was like, 10 out of 10. He was my favorite all-time host. Like, he was so good.
I mean, people were asking, like, somebody put in the comments, and I've had other people like, wait a minute, you guys are doing Disney songs? Why are you doing Disney songs? Bethany is the reason why we're doing Disney, because the conversation that we had during the fundraiser, I was just like, because this is a realm that we're like, we're familiar with, but we're not in the shits with it that you are when it comes to like Disney. I will say
myself, sorry. I know that we tonight are talking about, but since we've gotten to the parks for a second, December trip to Epcot, I'm so game. Cousin Rob, if you want to come. Anyone tonight, Delcom, Lego, if anyone wants to come, y'all are invited to go.
Mike just put in the chat, he's like, December trip to Epcot? Maybe. Maybe.
It's
By the way,
so much fun.
I just want to clarify. So I was right. It was 1965 Cinderella. Leslie Ann Warren does Cinderella, and Ginger Rogers plays the queen. So it's, it's old school.
That is old school. I want to watch this version now.
I've seen it like probably 20 times. I remember in kindergarten, just because it was just on the Disney Channel, like that Zorro reruns,
like all the time.
All the time.
I'm certain I probably have watched it at some point, and I just am like not recalling it.
Totally.
But yes, quick shout out to Disney Parks music. So many good songs, so many iconic songs in the parks that you're hearing all the time. I know everyone like makes fun of It's a Small World, but like honestly, what a banger, what an earworm. Even on their new ride, Minnie and Mickey's Runaway Railway, they have this song, Nothing Can Stop Us Now. It will immediately get stuck in your head. The best Disney Park song, though, in my humble opinion, well, besides Haunted Mansion, obviously, Grim Grinning Ghost is iconic. But I think probably Carousel of Progress. It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
I love the Carousel of Progress. A very underrated attraction.
Quickly give a shout out to some Disney Parks music.
I watch a lot of like behind like full documentaries of like Disney rides and like how they built them and stuff. And that one is fascinating. By the way, my favorite Disney song at the
Caribbean one make you cry because it made me.
Yeah, so Yo Ho Yo Ho, A Pirate's Life for me. That's my favorite song out of the Disney parks. And I, knock on wood, am so fortunate. I went there in 2001 before the Pirates of the Caribbean movies came out. Right. So I've seen the original ride, and that was fucking awesome.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's all just verified.
This has been your Disneyland World segment.
Segue.
I have never been.
Back to animal.
I have a verse.
Well. Meanwhile, I used to live in Anaheim.
Yeah.
So I feel Delicom, and you just went, right? Is it correct?
Who knows?
Yes, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast. Right. So I feel with our remaining picks for the evening, you guys will probably cover the two that I got written down that I'm like, we have to get to these. I got a feeling.
I have a feeling I know where you're going. I'm excited if you're talking about what I think you're about ready to talk about.
Everybody wants to be a cat from the Aristocats.
That is so good.
So here's the deal. The Aristocats is one of my. So we had, I don't know, we probably had a dozen or so of the clamshell VHS tapes growing up. You know, the Aristocats was definitely one of them. So was Bedknobs and Broomsticks, which is a live action animation like Mary Poppins style. Aristocats was one of my favorite ones growing up. Like it was the Aristocats, Sleeping Beauty, and then obviously the Renaissance stuff, right?
Scatman,
I just think it's one of the
man. Scatman fucking Crothers.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We all know Scatman Crothers from
Scatman Crothers.
Yeah, we know his work from Wonderful Over Cuckoo's Nest and The Shining, obviously.
Okay, just ignore my pun. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh no, well, I didn't catch it. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
She was so proud of it. And
I was so proud of it. I said he couldn't have been named Catman Crothers.
Yes. Yes.
And also Hoosier, born in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Oh, hey.
So that's why I was like, Scatman fucking Crothers, man. He's from Terre Haute. Yeah. So that's why I always had an affinity for
Dude,
him.
Terre Haute, Indiana is one of my favorite towns to travel through. Check out their Long John Silvers if you ever get a chance.
Was he raised in the South?
I like how you said you made it sound like let's go to a little mom and pop place. It's on the side of the road.
It's right off of 41.
One of the 4 Long John Silvers that still exists in this country. Sorry, I had to. But yeah.
No, the Aristocats. I just think it's one of the most underrated, underappreciated Disney movies. Don't get me wrong, I haven't seen it in 20 plus years, but it's great. And over time, we lost a lot of our VHS tapes because we moved over to DVD. But between garage sales and thrift stores and garbage picking, I probably got about 40 Disney VHS clamshell tapes. There's still a few that I'm missing from the collection, but I got some of them on display tonight. But yes, the Aristocats, the whole soundtrack, specifically that song. Anybody, have you guys seen this movie? I know Delacommon has.
Yeah, I love Aristocats. Yeah. It's another one that I haven't seen it in a really long time.
Right.
But I have a fondness for it. Maybe I wouldn't if I watched it. No, I hope I would still would. But no, I enjoyed it. I do think it has some great music. It's just for some reason I want to revisit it a lot. I know apparently Lego is not a cat fan, so probably not a movie for her. But Marie is very popular in the parks. I will say, like a lot of girls do wear a lot of like Marie Disney bounds, Marie shirts. So the Aristocats are living on at least in the parks, I will say. I don't know how much conversation is happening about the Aristocats outside of the parks, sadly, but it's still getting some love.
101 Dalmatians is incredible. Also, great soundtrack. I don't know if anybody's gonna bring it up.
One of the greatest movies, best Disney movies.
Sure,
it's
the yin and yang. You got the Aristocats and 101 Dalmatians.
No, Rob, it's not a yin and a yang. 101 Dalmatians is absolutely better than the Aristocats. What is wrong with you?
So if we're going to get away from like the cats versus dogs, will you talk about like, because this came out in the 70s?
Oh, no, I absolutely will say that it's a better film. And if you look at the art style of 101 Dalmatians, it is significantly, I think, prettier looking than I think it defeats it on every level. And also, I feel like there's been a lot of like retroactive talk about the Aristocats in a way that is like the film's got a lot of problems.
Oh, I'm
sure. I think there's a reason why. Oh, and I gotta say it. 101 Dalmatians is the only good live action remake.
The Glenn Close one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, the live action actually of that does slap. You're right.
And I went to see the sequel to it, the 102 Dalmatians at El Capitan, and they used to do this thing. I don't know, they still do. But next door to El Capitan, they would rent out this like big building, and they would have like interactive activities. So I got to go in, and we got to meet some of the puppies. It was like the greatest day ever.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and I got to dress up like Cruella de Vil. It was super fun.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
But on the music note on that, especially that song, like it also hits on our affinity for that almost. And as we bring up like a running theme in our shows is about Americana music and about like there's almost especially that string in the 70s. Like you and I talk about my favorite Elton John era is. Help me because I always say the name of the
Tumbleweed Connection, Honky Chateau, those two albums,
like that, the band, that sort of stuff. Like this is probably the closest you're gonna get to that sort of genre and style of music that you're gonna have in a Disney. So that's why it has affinity with me. It's just because of our musical taste outside of the Disney stuff. It is more like along the lines of like what we listen to in general, and I think there was elements of that why I love it so. Like I was excited when you kind of snuck it in there earlier, and I'm like, oh, good, he's gonna bring it up, so I don't have to bring it up. So I love it. It's
the whole dancing scene, like when they're all out in the street and they're just like banging the track. I'm just like, yes, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So
that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Lego. You got another one to bring up?
Moana has a lot of phenomenal songs. They have Jermaine Clemens singing, and he's so funny. I just love everything he does. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think it's Aulili. Her voice is phenomenal. She doesn't have my favorite songs though. My favorite song is The Rock singing "You're Welcome." It is so condescending. It is so I'm better than you and you're welcome. It is hilarious. It's so fun. It's perfectly suited for The Rock. Yes, just it's just a nice vibe. And have I ever wanted to send it to someone when I was kind of mad at them and wanted to be a little petty? Yes. Did I follow through? Yes.
Do you mean Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is the co-holder of the villains bracket that was on What the Show less than 24 hours ago? Dear Rock.
It's true.
I watched it on the replay.
I watched it on the replay. Yeah, we're
The Rock
a
is a
little mad at
jabroni.
him right now, but it's a good song.
Listen, once you get to a certain age as a man, you become a villain, and that's a fact.
That's true.
Unless you're Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
When I turned 28, that's when I became a villain. More of it. I was an anti-hero before that.
That's when you entered your villain era. Oh,
I had to do it.
It's officially turned into characters of culture.
I didn't know how to feel about that. I did not know how to feel about that, to be honest with you. I was like, wait a minute.
LeGault has admin power. Oh.
I will say, I think my favorite song from Moana is "Where You Are." I don't know why. I like me some Christopher Jackson. I like his voice. I like that song. I think it's a little bit of an underrated one. "You're Welcome" is really fun. Obviously, "How Far I'll Go" is like the anthem of the film. It's great. Let's see, what else do I like off of it? Yeah, I mean, it does actually have just so many great songs. But yeah, I don't know where you are. I used to take this class in Orlando called Broadway Burn. It was so good. And we basically did like a Zumba class, but just show tunes. It was literally made for me. And because, of course, obviously a lot of Disney is very Broadway-esque. A lot of Disney is literally on Broadway. We did a lot of Disney songs as well. And so I do sometimes think of squats when I hear the song "Be Prepared" to this day. Thanks for that, Broadway Burn. But we did "Where You Are" and Broadway Burn. And it's just such a fun, it's so like soothing and pretty. And it was such a fun dance that we did to it. And it just like solidified that as my favorite song from the Moana soundtrack.
That's
so
fair.
thanks, Broadway Burn, for that.
Dela Common, have you seen Moana?
No, I've not.
I have not either. So I gotta get on that.
Like I said, there was a certain point, and really for me, like outside of the sprinkling, like I said earlier, with the nieces and nephews, if that wasn't around, anything past Hunchback is very hit and miss with me. Like
Sure.
Once I escaped that period and was into my angsty teen, even though I was born almost an angsty teen, like from the womb, like out the gate, like it's just one of those things where I was like, yeah, I need to get around to doing it, but me and music movies.
So Helen's in the chat. I want to see. Let's see if Helen types back. Helen, do you remember when we saw The Hunchback of Notre Dame in the theater in Joliet? We went to Movies 10. Let me know.
No movies.
When did that come out?
96.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
96.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I saw a lot of these movies in 2020.
Like during the pandemic, you just like we're gonna go through.
Well, first I watched Teen Wolf. That was regrettable.
The
Then I
whole
watched
show?
Yes.
Okay.
Then I watched Saint Elsewhere. That was way more regrettable. That show is real weird. So
It
then I
has
watched-
one of the best like examples of the weirdest endings, almost David Lynchian type endings that
I
they
think
did
a lot of
ever.
people don't remember the rest of the show if they thought that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, you're talking about a show that was probably like 10 years before even the oldest of us.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't remember what
You know,
year
like,
it was on.
yeah, because like, I was born in 85. That's probably around the time period that was really its heyday. So I have no recollection of.
That show is
I
just
just know.
so weird.
Helen replied, "Nope."
Nope.
She does not recollect.
Well, and then we'll get back on the subject. We went to the Titanic exhibit today, and we went to it in the year 2000. My whole family did, and none of them, other than me, and my parents have any recollection of it whatsoever. So, there is that.
You're the one in the family that has the memory.
I'm who
oldest.
keeps all the memories. So
That's
I'm the
my
memory
job in my family, but I'm actually the youngest. So some things I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't alive yet. You're
Sure.
gonna have to.
Oh, you don't
consult
remember that
yourself
thing
on
that
this.
happened when you were 5? No.
Well, then I've gotten all the stories from my like the elder people in the family. So like I feel like I can keep all like 3 generations of all the
Yeah.
stories and stuff.
You're
And
the
it's all
cousin
here.
Rob.
So if I ever like have memory loss issues later in life, like
You're
that's not.
screwed.
I got to journal it all.
Yeah, start journaling
Yeah.
now.
Oh, but see, my generation, none of us had kids, so the family line is dying out. As it
Yeah, I definitely had I am the classic middle child syndrome of everything. Like it's just like, sure, that happened, great, fine. I don't remember. Like I was off in my
Right.
own little world.
Well,
Right.
Also, it's just
So
like
rough
my
up here.
family had so many kids. So they'll say, like, I remember there's a really specific story where one of the dogs, Annie, attacked one of the kids. Everyone agrees it was me. And I'm sitting there, no, it was insert name here. Definitely witnessed it, saw it, wasn't me. It was her. It's like, no, it was you. I'm being gaslit here.
Yeah.
But like, he just
Yeah.
confused the kids.
I tell you.
All right. So Moana.
People have too many damn kids. Anyway.
Right. We should less kids. Bethany. What's
right.
what do you got? What do you got left on your list?
I feel like we're wrapping up here. I feel like we've hit a lot of the heavy hitters. There's one heavy hitter we have towed around, we have danced around, we have not fully dived in. It's fucking Aladdin. Obviously. Again, take your pick. There are so many great songs on the soundtrack. A Whole New World obviously is a bop. I'm gonna give a slight edge to Friend Like Me. Personally, that is my personal favorite on the soundtrack. I mean, Prince Ali, like there's so many great songs, obviously, but I think it has to be Friend Like Me, in my humble opinion.
I never met him. He would have never had any idea who I was. But every once in a while, I just get sad that we don't have Robin Williams around anymore.
I
Because
know.
that, I mean, just A, tremendous talent. B, him and Aladdin as Genie was.
So good.
I've not seen the remake because it's just like I just don't.
It's
like,
not.
fine.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
good.
fine. It's fine. There's honestly a decent addition song, but the rest of the songs just fall flat because, I mean, I'm not saying that Will Smith doesn't have charisma because obviously he does, but like, you're never going to be Robin Williams.
He doesn't have that explosive energy that Robin Williams just when he's on camera, he just naturally has it.
Yep.
So
I only seen the animation movie once, and I didn't watch the live action remake because not gonna do that. Now, would you say that the live action remake, like, where are we placing it amongst the live action remakes?
Is
Is it
live action?
is it like 101 being the best, Lion King being the worst?
So it's yeah. If that's our ranking, 101 Dalmatians, agreed, is probably the best remake. Lion King is probably the worst. I would put it like middle, like higher than middle, honestly, because having seen, and again, I'm not saying that it's good, but like Mulan was disappointing. Beauty and the Beast is fine. Little Mermaid, I actually thought brought some new things.
I gave it 4 stars. That was
enjoyed
great.
it. I know it wasn't a cup of tea, but I actually really liked it. I still am gonna watch the animated if I want to like watch Little Mermaid, but I think it did bring something new to the table. I think Aladdin did the same. Again, I don't think it's as good as the animated. The Genie is not going to be as good. And that's no knock on Will Smith. He's great, but like, you're just not Robin Williams. I'm sorry. But I do think much in the way that I think the Little Mermaid really fleshed out Prince Eric's character, because let's face it, in the animated film, he's nothing.
Yes.
I think that the live action Aladdin does a good job of fleshing out Jasmine's character. So I would say I put it on the higher. It's no 101 Dalmatians live action, but it's up. It's about in the same realm for me as Little Mermaid live action, personally. I think it's worth watching on Disney Plus.
Is it also a musical?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll think about
it. And I think there's a song. That's the problem with a lot of these live actions is obviously each time they add a new song or two, because they won award nominations, and you have to have a new song for it to count
Right.
to win that best original song. And all of them have fallen really flat. And I'm not saying that this is best original song material, but there is a Jasmine number called Speechless, which I think is good. I think, again, it helps flesh out Jasmine's character. It's an earworm. It sticks with you. I think it's pretty good. I think that the actress, who I can't think of her name right now, who performs it, does a good job with it. Yeah, I think it's I think we've had to add an additional song in these live action films. For that, it wins that award for being one of the better ones. Again, is it great? No. Is it good? Yeah, I'd say.
And also, like, go back to the actual animated one on that, because I have nothing to add on. Like, I've never seen the live action. It's one of those ones where I'm like, I'm not touching that. Like, leave my childhood alone. I don't want to see it. It's not for me. But Peebo Bryson, once again, who, you know, we mentioned him during the Beauty and the Beast with his Celine Dion duet. He also did A Whole New World, which really, once again, about kind of like the thing I said about Randy Newman, a very underrated singer. Did a lot of work with Roberta Flack and stuff like that. And it was nice that, like, for a good chunk of the 90s, he was like, that voice was within my childhood. Like, it was nice to have that. And going back after the fact and learning about his career and how very kind of underrated he is, I thought it was, you know, that's one of A Whole New World. Like, once again, that was the banger. I mean, yeah, you had A Friend Like Me. That is the comic relief. It's the fun one. But when it comes to your Disney ballad, A Whole New World is still to this day up there as one of, like, probably people's top favorite Disney songs. And yeah, fucking love Aladdin. Even though, like, you can get into, like, all of these, you can go into, like, the cultural criticisms of, like, representation, cultural appropriation, like all that other stuff, like the can of worms that you go into that. But it's, I mean, this was done in the mid 90s. You just have to accept
92.
It for what it is.
Yeah.
It
came out in 92.
So,
early 90s, technically. Yeah.
But yeah.
It's not without fault. We acknowledge that, everyone, but it is a great. Also, as a woman, Aladdin doesn't hit for me as much as I feel like. Again, that's every, like, boy's favorite Disney movie, I feel like. So I love Aladdin, but I just feel like it doesn't hit for me the way it probably does for the two of you, because I don't know. I just feel like boys always liked it more.
Aladdin's not even in my top 10 favorite Disney animated movies.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah. Way to go, cousin. Way to buck the system.
Sleeping Beauty.
But, and like I said, it's only high on my list because I told, like, as I prefaced it beforehand, it's in that wheelhouse of, like, what was there when I was and haven't seen so much of it. It's probably not gonna rank as high when it comes to that, because definitely, like, Jasmine was definitely just eye candy, like, in that. Like, that's all that her served for purpose of that whole thing. So I can see that criticism being.
It is strange how they really sexualize the princesses for these kids' movies.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like, you know, it was like, oh, you see Jasmine's midriff. Ooh, how scandalous. Like, type of.
Yeah. I mean, did we all, as kids in the early 90s, dress up at least once as Jasmine for Halloween? Absolutely. But yeah,
just you.
Kind of think about it.
You and Rob.
No, but I will. So Helen, I threw us under the bus earlier, and I gotta find these photos because my mom has them somewhere. Me and Helen were Simba and Nala one Halloween. The year before that, we were Belle and Beast from Beauty and the Beast. And then I think we went our separate ways after that, because then the next year I was a pirate because I became obsessed with Pirates of the Caribbean because I had a Disney VHS tape of sing-along songs. They made like 12 volumes of it. We had a couple of them.
Yeah.
And they had the pirates, and I just became obsessed with pirates. Hadn't even been to Disney yet. There is no Jack Sparrow yet, but I'm just like, fuck yeah.
Pirates. Didn't we all go through a pirates phase, honestly?
Who didn't?
Thanks to Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, because I had already seen Cowboy Bebop and that Peter Pan movie, and I was obsessed with, like, space pirates. I did not like. I've never liked Johnny Depp. I did not like that pirate.
Yeah, this was 12 years before Johnny Depp's movie even came out. Yeah,
I have never seen any of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Not a single one.
Smart man.
Because I'm with Lego. Like, Johnny Depp outside of, like, Fear and Loathing. I think
that the first one is a perfect film. Do I think
I agree.
The sequels are great? No, but I think legitimately that first movie has no right to be as good as it is.
It's
You're
incredible.
taking
I just
a theme
don't
park
like it.
attraction and making a full-length feature film, and you're like, this isn't gonna work, and it's phenomenal.
Me and my dad saw that opening weekend, and I was just like blown the fuck away.
I love
'cause
it.
it's a PG-13 movie,
Yeah.
you know, and that was a big deal for Disney.
The score is so good.
The first three, the whole trilogy. I
Yeah.
haven't seen 4 and 5. Like I just kind of fell off after that. But the first three,
I was every midnight
Keira
premiere, I was
Knightley,
there.
oh my gosh, you know,
Obsessed, absolutely obsessed with them.
Just never into them.
fuck, I might
The only
rewatch
time
those
I
this
liked
weekend.
that was 21 Jump Street.
Right.
Where he belonged.
And here's the thing, I was not, again, all of my edgelord friends, because who wasn't an edgelord when they were teenager except for me, were obsessed with Johnny Depp. And I'm not gonna say that he wasn't entertaining, but the reason that the first movie works is they kept him as a side character. He works so well in small doses. Then he became really popular and he overtook the franchise. But why the first movie works is because he's a side character, and your main story is this beautiful love story between Will and Elizabeth. I was always way more invested in Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann than I was in Jack Sparrow. And I was the only one in my friend group who felt that way. But I was like, no, it is such a, and honestly, Will Turner's story is like so good. And like his daddy issues, I loved it.
And
Jack Sparrow's only good because he's a side character.
Jeffrey Rush is Barbosa.
Yes.
Dude, what a fucking, and
Like,
then they got Stellan Skarsgård a couple movies. Like,
why are we talking about fucking Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow when
these guys are competitive.
Jeffrey Rush is nailing it?
These guys are competitive with some of the greatest Bond villains of all time. Like straight up.
Barbosa is literally, y'all. If I can sell anyone on anything, it's one, go to Epcot during Christmas time to go to Candlelight. 2, you need to watch, I don't know, if you haven't watched Pirates of the Caribbean, at least the first film. I legit
Lego and I are on an island over here going.
I mean, I've seen them. I don't like them.
Oh, okay.
So
then I'm on the island then.
It's so good. It's so good.
I think we're on the same place. You just opted not to watch it
Lego
first.
has watched it. She's given it a chance, so I'm allowing that. She's given it a fair chance, and she didn't like it. That's fine. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But you have not watched it yet, sir, and I just gotta watch it.
So I think it's also that thing where it's like you don't like something, and then I think my friends were probably about I was hanging out with kids who were a little bit older than me, probably about your age, Bethany. I'm just slightly younger than you. Yeah. But when you're like 11, 12, 13, like that's a big difference. And they were really into and obsessed with Johnny Depp. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't get it yet. I don't understand these feelings you have yet.
Girl.
I also like,
as
an outsider, like who has no frame of reference for the movies, it seemed very like gross D-bag online pickup artist favorite character of Disney ever is Johnny Depp. Like just the wannabe Keith Richards, wannabe like no thank you, no thank you.
By the way, our boy
nailed it.
Ruin the rest of the wonderful story and characters for you.
It's about Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann.
But also I don't want to be mean. But Orlando Bloom and what's her name, Keira
Knightley.
Keira
Knightley are just cardboard people.
Wow. Okay.
Whoa. All
right, let's get back to DisneyAnimated.
Listen, I love Legolas. He's my guy. He's my elf. But
Goddess Divine. Like
I just love when a grenade gets thrown and it's not me throwing it.
I said what I said.
Miss Elizabeth Bennet herself from the 2005 Pride and Prejudice adaptation. Keira Knightley from Atonement. The reason that I searched for an emerald green dress to go to my prom
and show me an emotion.
No, I will not say for this Keira Knightley.
I've got to see Atonement.
I will not.
Yeah,
love it.
Show me a facial expression. Nothing.
Her whole face emotes. That woman is an icon. I will not. She was 17 when she filmed Pirates of the Caribbean, and she is running circles around half of these people who are veteran actors.
Damn, she was only 17 when they filmed that movie?
Isn't that wild? Yeah. True story.
Wow.
17, when Pirates of the Caribbean was
I don't know if I can watch that now. But anyways, let's get back to the Disney songs.
But yeah.
We've gone down a dark path.
Dela, comment. I think you're up next. You got anything?
So I'm gonna we have tapped out on my like Disney like affinity for the music, but I will want to bring up a couple points of like you
Okay.
brought it up. The Disney sing-alongs were like monumental as a kid. I
I had a
those
couple of
VHSs.
tapes. Yeah.
There was also a thing that Disney did weirdly, and I may be the only one that remembers this because I am the elder millennial. I think actually Mike and I are around the same age. Like I think Mike might be around. So if Mike's still in the chat, see if he remembers this. ABC would do this weird thing where they would take popular music and they would place it. They would cut it with like music, like popular music during the time. This is like definitely late 80s, and it used to be one of like the ABC specials that they would have, like Disney specials. Like sometimes they would do stuff like that. So I have a very distinct memory of Let's Hear It for the Boys being played, and there was a Disney cut with all Jimmy's definitely is around my age, so he probably remembers that. That was like weirdly introduction into like a lot of like pop music. Not saying that Let's Hear It for the Boys this is the most classic example, it's just one that's burned into my brain. But yeah, they used to do this weird thing where they, Disney would play almost like an MTV type style thing, but they would cut it with Disney clips and stuff like that. And it was kind of definitely one of those things that like I remember as a kid like being very fascinated with. And like I said, I just have a weird memory of like Mickey and Minnie jumping into a convertible while Let's Hear It for the Boys is playing. So I think like the little things that they did, like that, and then the sing along stuff, they did a lot of like smart things for like to have yourself associated with that brand, whether you're watching the movies or not.
Mike and Jimmy both remember. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because there's times where, like, because I am on the older realm of elder millennials, like I bring this up and people look at me like I've got 4 heads and don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm like, yeah, Let's Hear It for the Boys. Like, 1, we don't even know what the fuck that song is. 2, we don't even remember that it was put together like with Disney stuff. But yeah, they did a lot of cool, weird stuff like that. This is definitely the time when like you would watch ABC and then Michael Eisner would like introduce things.
Hello.
Yeah, like it was very weird. Like I can't remember all they did, but that's something that stuck out is the sing-along tapes, and then also I probably do have like VHS tapes of those actual shows that they did with this that I need to dig up and then convert over because they're fantastic. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so I got 1 movie and I got 1 song on my list that were like essentials to bring up for the evening. They have not been brought up yet.
Oh, okay.
So as we start to kind of, go wherever we're going to go with the rest of the show, you guys want to just talk about Tarzan now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's talk about Tarzan now.
Let's talk about Tarzan.
I want to know, can you show me? I want to know about these strangers like me.
Great song.
So full disclosure, I've seen the movie maybe like 2 or 3 times. It's fine. It's good. So shout out to my friend Steve. He's a pharmacist now. But when we were younger, like 19, 20, and we were all drinking and stuff, he would play the Phil Collins soundtrack to Tarzan quite often. So I have this fondness, like this love for the soundtrack post the movie. And it's just incredible. So please feel free to rant and rave about Tarzan.
It's a fantastic soundtrack. Yeah, You'll Be in My Heart. Strangers Like Me is probably my favorite. Son of Man, that's a great song. Also
You'll Be in My Heart.
So many great songs. This is another wait for it Disney Park Insider tidbit. Festival of the Arts runs every late January to about mid-February. It is the best festival at Epcot. Mark that down, folks. I know everyone's all like food and wine. Fucking Festival of the Arts is the best. And for a couple of reasons. 1, you can get some really cool art. 2, they do a Disney on Broadway concert series where they take people who portrayed these roles on Broadway and they do a little medley for you, 30-minute medley set every like 3 times a night. Josh Strickland, who originated the role on Broadway, comes out and does Strangers Like Me. And then he also performed the role in Germany So he will sing a little bit for you in German, which is fantastic. So if you want to go see, yes, it is farts. If you want to go see some great Disney music sung by if you want some Aida in your life, great. Go to Epcot during that time of the year. And that's your little insider knowledge. But yes, Tarzan it's a great Phil Collins. Again, this was probably, we discussed kind of earlier that a lot of people were introduced to Phil Collins this way.
Right.
And my dad liked a little Genesis. He liked a little Phil Collins. I probably knew a couple of his songs, but honestly, it was I remember vividly watching this like behind the scenes of making of Tarzan on the Disney Channel. They would run like this little like bit about it because obviously they were promoting the movie coming out, and they were like showing Phil Collins on the drums, and I was like, and again, my dad was like, "That's fucking Phil Collins," and I was like, "I don't know, it's this man that's making this music for this Disney movie." So I'm one of those people who like pretty much was introduced to Phil Collins because of Tarzan, and then I was like, I really like this music, and my dad was like, "Just you wait, kid, let me show you these other things this guy did." So thanks Tarzan for being my gateway into more Phil Collins music.
So this movie came out, I would have been in, I think, second grade. I want to say second or third at the latest. And I'll never forget this. I don't know, a couple of months after the movie came out, I'm in the car with my dad, and I don't know if he'd remember this, but he had 93.1 at WXRT, Chicago's finest rock, on the radio, and In the Air Tonight started. And I go, I don't remember this, like, because like I have no frame of reference. Right. So I'm just like listening to it, and I'm like, I don't remember this this is the Tarzan guy. I don't remember. And he just turned to me and he goes, he's just like, this is Phil Collins. And I was like, oh, Phil Collins does the and then like everything came together, you know, and it was, and then they got to the da-dun, 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 and I was just like, oh my God. You know?
Great. It's the greatest beginning. This is a great song.
Sorry, I missed this conversation. The doggo had to be let out, and nobody was here to take her out. So,
by the way, shout out to XRT Jimmy Nails. You know, Chicago, Terry Hammert all day.
The other night we were all discussing. Since we're speaking of Disney, we were all discussing in one of my group chats amongst friends. Do you remember growing up what channel, like the Disney Channel, was on? Nickelodeon was 54. On. Yeah, and it's like it immediately comes to you. I was like, yeah, 41.
Yeah.
Like it just instantly. I was like, MTV 66, VH1 52.
Telecom, you got anything to say about Phil Collins, Tarzan?
Not something that I particularly am well versed on because I grew up. Phil Collins was a thing, always. Especially Genesis, especially that area. I probably have. I've showed it off before. I have Face Value, No Jacket Required on vinyl. Oh, yeah. I've had them on that since I was a kid. So it's very weird to me. Also because this is Tarzan around the time when I checked out of Disney. Like I consider myself aged out. So it's very interesting that like to hear that people's like, as you said, and like that's and Bethany said, because I had my headphones in while I was outside with the dog. I could hear you guys talking. It is very interesting that that's the introduction to Phil Collins that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And it is, once again, like this is almost like the Randy Newman situation. Again, it's nice that people have a frame of reference that they could go back to and say, hey, I enjoyed this as a kid, even though it's not my cup of tea when it comes to the pantheon of Phil Collins. It's very cool.
And the upside to this whole thing is that it would be one thing for us to be having this conversation like, yeah, that's how they found out about Phil Collins, but these are great songs that stand on their own in a collection of
there's no shade in my
it's not like a step down, like, oh, they did this Disney song. You know, it's good, but it's like Strangers Like Me is up there with the best Phil Collins songs, you know?
Right. That's a great song. And yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm a big believer. Like, I love when people do things like this because that's how you keep this, you know, your music out there. That's how you gain new fans. That's how people that are, like I said, many people our age discovered Phil Collins and were able to discover so many good songs because of it and discover his music because of it. So, yeah.
I mean, I agree with that as long as they keep it within the realm. If they don't go too off kilter, like Elton John.
I think these
with Lion
songs are
King
so
for a
like
lot of-
Phil Collins songs, though. You know what I mean? Like you're like,
Yeah.
these the songs Phil Collins would make for a Disney movie. Like it's so like in his wheelhouse still. That you're like, yeah, that's what he would do.
I mean, a funny thing happened on the way to heaven, or
Yeah.
what was that? The Take Me Home Tonight, like, or not Take Me Home Tonight.
No,
what's
that's
the song?
Eddie
Take Me
Money.
Home.
I was
No,
listening
Take
to
Me
that
Home.
earlier today.
Eddie Money.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, that was a
Eddie Money.
great choice for you to turn that song on. That's a great song. Eddie Money.
Yeah. Rob and I have a huge affinity for Eddie Money. We think
He's one of the most
That's one should.
underrated artists of all time. Like Bodine's, Eddie Money. There's a handful of them. We'll get
Give me
Dire
Walk on
Straits.
Water. Give me
Dire
Shaken.
Straits
Give
is
me
so underrated.
like.
Yeah. All right, sorry. Lego thoughts. Tarzan.
Okay, first
Phil
of
Collins.
all, this is 100% J Mills. I do have thoughts on George of the Jungle, but we're doing animated movies, and I watched George of the Jungle last night. I watched George of the Jungle I watch that movie once a week. No joke.
I
watch the
respect
movie
that, honestly.
like 500 times. I love George of the Jungle. But anyway, I think it was interesting that Jimmy Nails up here said, "You'll Be in My Heart." That song is pure romance. Totally disagree with that. That song is about a parental love, and I love that around
Can
this
be
time
romantic
is
in
where
that way.
with Tarzan in '99 is where they're kind of shifting, like Disney, from that kind of compulsory like princess prince gotta have a romance love story, which generally weren't very good, and also these are for children, so why is that even the story, into like more family centered storylines. And I actually think the song works really well more with that respect and for that story, and I think that's just better storytelling for children in general. And I love this movie and I love that song. However, that is not like how I discovered Phil Collins. That to me, like, oh, these are just cool songs I really like. I don't think I realized Phil Collins, like the name Phil Collins, was not a thing that I knew probably till about 2 years ago. I don't know names.
Yeah, Phil Collins is one of those ones that like I had a weird negative association as a kid, and I compare them to Fleetwood Mac, where I, because of like just kind of like the way I grew up, and then turned around and came back around to appreciate Phil Collins.
Let him finish, Lego. He loves Fleetwood Mac now. Let him finish.
Okay.
No, I don't know. No. Like growing up, so my stat, like it's the same reason. Like the only group that has not made that list and will never make that list on. Okay, I was wrong in retrospect. Is the Eagles? Fuck the Eagles.
Yeah, we know. We all know.
Name of the Eagles song.
But the Eagles have
Hotel
some good
California, Lion
songs.
Eyes, Heartache Tonight.
It's a thing. It's a thing on the
And
it's a
And
thing
then
on the
they
show.
all went on basically to have successful solo careers.
Yeah,
No,
no.
I'm not going to
I
fight it.
love
I'm already
Fleetwood Mac
fighting
so
an uphill battle with Keira Knightley.
Yeah, I will say Don Henley's solo career was great. His first the end of
Yeah,
Innocence
like,
was
come
a great album.
on.
Yeah.
Della,
Boys
I
of
actually have a
Summer.
question for you. Have you seen
Yeah.
heavy metal?
Yes,
Okay, are you a fan of heavy metal?
I am a fan of what it was for its time period. You know what I
Okay,
mean? Like I appreciate it for what it is, but am I into the pure metal sex like trope of like fantasy? No, I can't say that's my bag. But
So
I reckon.
I grew up with that
Right.
as a kid, and my favorite song is Veteran of the Psychic Wars by Blue Oyster Cult, which is in that song, and that's how I was introduced to it. So I was just like, I kind of liked what you were talking earlier about like this being an introduction to Phil Collins for so many people. So I was just wondering, like, because you said you felt like you were too old. If you watched movies like that when you were a kid, and is that your introduction to anything?
Yeah, heavy metal was like a huge introduction because okay, so if I have people that are genre based who are integral to like my musical development. Like we all have those kind of keystone people, and my uncle was very much of the metal, and he definitely introduced me to that movie and that going on and kind of the stuff on that. So I mean, me with like growing up, my father was very much classic rock, so Blue Oyster Cult was always a thing. So it was like nice. Hey, I don't know this Blue Oyster Cult song. You know, it's not Godzilla or Don't Fear the Reaper. Kind of
Burning for
like,
you.
normal, yeah,
I'm burning,
sort of,
I'm burning for you. Oh my god.
yeah. So yeah, like yeah, that may be another episode that we need to bring Lego back on. Is for heavy metal
Underrated,
because
under talked about, underappreciated bands. Yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
No, just like that specifically. Like, I don't think you understand that. Have you ever watched that, Rob?
I've never
That
seen heavy metal. No,
It's a lot,
I'll check it out.
especially for as young as I saw it. Like, I probably shouldn't have seen it as something that was that sexualized, like explicitly sexualized. When it comes to like, we're talking like Disney stuff and how it's around the margins of like what is your kind of like social construct. Heavy metal is just fucking wild, especially for the time period that it came out in.
It's like Mad Magazine.
Okay.
With Mad Max, with dragons, with like it's wild.
Great, and it's so funny
Yeah.
when you think that John Candy did one of the voices. Like, it throws me every time. I actually like the sequel more.
Oh, the one that he
I got
did
one
like
to say
way
about
late.
these. Hmm?
What year did that one come out? The sequel. It
I
was
mean,
like
I'm
way
assuming
later, wasn't
2000 because it's called Heavy Metal 2000, but I'm not 100% sure if that's true.
it? Yeah.
Around that time.
Just an assumption.
So
Turn of
so
events.
Disney songs.
Sorry.
I feel so again, there's one song that's left on the list that nobody said yet. I want to go around the circle. Is there anything you guys want to bring up that has not been brought up this evening in terms of top Disney songs? Lego, I see you got your hand up.
I feel like I've got
Did we
maybe
talk
one.
about Hercules and I missed it?
We did not talk about Hercules,
Okay,
and
Go
that is
the
also not
Distance.
on my list. So what do you got? Yeah,
I
let's hear
love
it.
Go the Distance.
Go
I
the
think
Distance is great. That's another
great.
like motivates
It's
me.
on my
so-
workout list.
Also, Zero to Hero is great as well. But Go the Distance,
Really?
honestly, that's a like motivating song that's on my workout. Yeah, I've worked out to that many times. But also just like legitimately makes me really emotional sometimes. Like it's just really
Yeah.
good song.
Like, I feel like a lot of the songs in that film, like, I don't know, I didn't look up who was doing the singing, but they all sound really great. Like, this
Yeah.
it's very listenable. That's a
Yeah.
word.
That's a
It's
word.
agreeable.
They're
It's
very
agreeable.
fun, but I definitely really love Go the Distance. It's totally on my workout soundtrack. It's very uplifting.
Yeah. Very motivating.
I think it's a really good if you're in the dumps, it's a really good, I can work my way through this. I can build my way up, positive song.
I agree. I think my last one I have to shout out is probably there's two that are just like classic iconic Disney songs I feel like have to be mentioned when you're discussing Disney songs. Obviously When You Wish Upon a Star. Hello.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
classic. A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes. That's a classic. That's like the go-to Cinderella song. Yeah, I think those are my last shout outs. There's probably more, but again, like there's so many Disney songs. There's so many good ones. I'm sure I'm forgetting things.
So
but
I got to
those are
shout out
the
in terms
hitters.
of the animated movies. I got to quickly shout out the entire Jungle Book soundtrack
Oh,
because I want to be like you.
Yes.
Ba-ba-da-ba-da-da.
Bare Necessities.
Bare Necessity. Those
So
are
good.
all bangers.
So
Okay.
good.
But the one I'm really surprised nobody's brought up yet tonight.
I
The
just
one
have to
I'm really
point out, I
surprised
love.
nobody's brought up tonight is a beautiful song. I finally saw this movie a couple years ago, and it may or may not have made me tear up a little bit. Remember Me from Coco.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
good.
I
Coco
kinda hinted
in
at it.
general is a great soundtrack, but Remember Me is very emotional. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Lego's cringing in the corner. You got thoughts on Coco?
I mean, I know I'm wrong. It just didn't hit me. I don't know. I sat there and watched it. I feel like I should be crying, but like it's just not.
It didn't speak to you.
That's what
It's
I
a good
was about ready to
Beautiful
bring up
animation.
is
Very good.
the humor of Lego's now new camera setup is she's got the bit of hiding into the corner.
Yeah, it used to be the get up and walk away for 4 years. You can do the get up and walk away?
Boom.
It's gone and gone.
Gone. Out. All right. I think we did it. I think we've covered
We covered Disney thoroughly.
I think we've covered Disney very, very thoroughly tonight. So, yeah, this was awesome. We got to do more stuff like this. Dela comment. I'm just going to say this on air. We'll talk more privately, but we should have guests on more often because, I mean, it's
definitely
great.
like I mean, there's certain like I don't think they want to sit around for our planned upcoming greetings from
No.
Asbury Park
Right.
episodes, but you
No.
know, definitely
Right.
definitely should do more of this stuff. And I'm glad that like I had touched upon earlier, the reason why the inspiration for this episode was during the fun conversation we had of what Metallica songs would we put in Disney films that we had during the fundraiser. So yeah, I consider this a roaring success when it comes to the conversation. I laughed that you said we'll keep it to an hour, and I was like, we're not gonna have Bethany on and say you're gonna only have an hour to talk about Disney. Like, not happening.
Rob, I think you should stop spitballing how long you think the episodes are. You're 100% wrong every time.
Yeah,
it's true.
Oh, wow, Mike ears.
It's true.
We do have a hard rule that we will not be Characters of Culture. We will not be going 4 to 5 hours.
No. Characters of Culture will always hold the record for the RFN fundraiser. We streamed for like 8 fucking hours.
Wait, which episode is the longest? Is it when I was going off?
So there's
is it me and Jimmy when we were doing the queer horror?
The 3 longest episodes on this channel, if I remember correctly. Number 1 is the RFN fundraiser from this year.
That doesn't count. I'm counting Characters of Culture episodes.
Probably the one with you and Jimmy, because otherwise the second longest episode is me, Kurt, and Mo and Danny and everybody when we did our best of 2023. That went like 4 hours something.
Oh
5
yeah.
hours.
Jimmy, I'm gonna need you to hit me with what dates you're available. We gotta have 2 on. I'll send you the list of movies I want to talk about, and we can just do a deep dive. Jennifer's Body, The Craft. Let's go.
There you go. All right, so yeah, we'll do more. We upcoming the next 2 episodes of EMBC. I know we want to do a guitar player episode. We have a guest that I've spoken with recently. Not sure if we're going to get to that in the next couple of weeks or which one's going to be first. And then we'll also be doing, drum roll, please. Finally, somebody's going to sit here and talk about Bruce Springsteen with me. And we are going to talk about. Go ahead, plug it, Dela, plug it.
So I have fought this for however long that we have been doing this show. We have gone all this time and we haven't had any Bruce Springsteen or Bob Dylan solo ones. And it's not like I don't appreciate. I just have to put the constraints on Rob. So the first thing that we're going to do on this, the next 2 actually the next 3 episodes, because we have my birthday one coming up too in April.
Okay. Right.
So we're going to be doing
that subject.
Yeah, and we've already got that subject lined up, which will be Van Morrison in the works of, to me, one of the most underrated, even though he's highly rated, still one of the most underrated of all time. But we are going to be doing Greetings for Asbury Park, an album that Rob and I absolutely love. I'm very much an early Springsteen guy. He's very much all of Springsteen guy. So it's going to be, yeah. So I'm finally ready to do a Bruce Springsteen episode with Rob, but like I said, I had to put major guardrails on because that would be a 12-hour episode if we.
Bethany, that's why we're only doing 1 album.
I still think you're gonna have it's gonna go.
Because we got to talk about when he got signed to Columbia, just like the whole thing. By the way, Bethany, so this is just a random thought that popped in my head. So we did a Tom Petty episode 2 years ago. We did his first 5, I think it was 5 records. We did the first, the 2 Danny Cordell ones, and then the 3 Jimmy Iovine ones before we went to Southern Accents.
Yeah.
But what we should do this year
we can run it back.
Top 10 Tom Petty songs.
Yeah.
Everybody brings their list in.
I want in.
Because I'll have a lot of deep cuts because I can
please.
let the greatest hits go for that.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I'm in. I'm
all right.
Lego,
So
you in for that?
You like Tom Petty Lego? Absolutely, you're invited. Absolutely.
You got your top 10 Tom Petty songs ready to rock and roll?
Tom Petty's one of my favorite singers. Thank you. I actually
there you go. Okay, she's ready. See, she's ready. She's got this.
So we're gonna reconvene in a little while, couple weeks, couple months, and we'll do top 10 Tom Petty songs. Until then, until the next episode on the RFN, whatever that is. Bethany, we'll start with you. What do you got going on, and where can the people find you at?
Every Wednesday night, What the Show. If you want cast, it's March Madness. We're doing March Madness brackets. We just did our villains, as we mentioned earlier. We are doing heroes in chaotic neutrals as well. We actually have 2 weeks of heroes because we had so many heroes this year that we had to break it up into 2 different things, or else we would go on as long as Rob could possibly go on about Bruce Springsteen. No, probably not. It still wouldn't be that long. But that's going on.
Hey, I got a bone to make about your hero bracket. How is Snickers not a hero yet?
Who's not
the
a hero
greatest
yet?
hero?
Who's the greatest hero?
Snickers.
Oh, okay,
Really?
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But you know what? We got space. We actually don't. We have so many heroes this year. So next year, we're taking applications. Also, Know It or Blow It. You can find that over on Benny Moose Save America. Me and Sarah Hamlin do it. It's great. It's great fun. We do have a couple of fun matches coming up for March. We're doing basketball movies, again, in honor of March Madness. And we're going to do Taylor Swift in honor of her ruling the world and it being Women's History Month. You can also find me back here to talk Tom Petty. Again, this is how I do things. I just say things in plugs and then they invite me on. And then for that special Taylor Swift special that we discussed earlier, I will be on anytime there are 2 bat signals for me. Disney and Taylor Swift, I just show up. I just appear whether I'm invited or not. It summons me. And also, if you like podcasts, you can find me at Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Hate Spinnerbait if you want to hear 2 millennial women talk about millennial woman nostalgia, your Laguna Beaches, your Degrassi's, your stuff like that. And first and foremost, Sarah Destin novels. I know it's probably not a lot of people's cup of tea, but if it's yours, that's where you can find me.
Hell yeah, right up and right on and on again. Lego, what do you got going on? Where can the people find you at?
Well, I can be found here on Thursday nights, The Character Culture with yourself, Rob. I'm also on PLD Projects where we talk about V, going through every single episode. We're almost completed the first TV show, and then like 3 months from now we'll start the remake. It takes a long time. I'm also could be found on my podcast, The Unhinged Binge, on Spotify. I think you can find me there on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts, where I talk about predominantly 80s horror, but also occasionally Nick Cage when I have time to do it, which I don't have a lot of time right now. And I'm about to do my episode on 1981 in horror. Oh my God, I'm so excited. 81, the year of the werewolf movies.
Hell yeah. And you and Kurt are doing that series on the Friday the 13th.
Yes,
movie,
we
right?
are. We're filming in like 2 weeks. We're doing Friday the 13th 2 versus The Burning.
The Burning's a movie?
Yes.
I've never heard of it.
Wherein Tom Savini did not come back to do Friday the 13th Part 2 makeup. Instead, he went off to do The Burning. And there's a lot of argument. There's a lot of contention, which is better. All right. There's a lot of controversy in the horror community.
I love some controversy.
Okay. Telecommon, what do you got going on? Where can the people find you at?
So you can usually find me on Instagram at Delacommon. Photography stuff is getting up and rolling as the weather is getting nicer. Also, the YouTube channel that I don't ever do anything on got wiped completely clean because in the next 2 weeks, I will be in Boston for PAX East, which if you know anything about the Penny Arcade Expos, they're kind of getting to be a big deal. Especially with the video game things like E3 going away. They're starting to absorb a lot of that stuff on there. I'm going there with my buddy Distal, who runs Distal's Place on Twitch, which is a D&D focused YouTube channel, and we're doing a lot of stuff, but I got like media passes. Like I've got actual credentials now. So look out for a lot of stuff on that. The channel will be doing a lot of like more stuff in the future. So look on that at Delacommon on YouTube. Other than that, you can catch me yammering with Rob about music. We have so many exciting shows. Like
whether we're on air or off air. I mean, we all just talk to each other just on the regular.
Like normally after these shows, Rob and I will go another 2 hours about something completely different. And then we're like, idiots, like you need to be recording this like on this sort of thing. So yeah, Rob, a lot of things.
Crazy shit.
Yeah. So go ahead. Finish up Delacommon.
So yeah, very much look out for that because especially with my photography, the video aspect is something I've neglected on, and that was my original. I'm a broadcasting major in college. That was my bread and butter. So to get back into that, I'm very excited to do. And PAX is going to be a lot of fun. And you know, I cannot wait to just have my camera out in that city. I cannot wait. Like I'm so excited what I can do with it. So look out for that. So
We'll try and get an ENBC cut in between now and you leaving for that. You can find me everywhere at Rob Fishback. Hit me up on Instagram. I check Twitter periodically, mostly for the news and to like people stuff. Yeah, so we got all that. We got Everyday Experts is coming up, and Sir Joker Presents for the month, and Overtly Opinionated. Me and Joker are launching a new show about mental health and movies. So TBD on when that's coming down the pipeline. And yeah, next Thursday, Characters of Culture, me and Lego will be talking about Universal Pictures. So there's a lot of
The studio, not just generalized.
Yeah, no, Universal, the company.
Every movie that's in the universe ever.
Should probably be more specific. But if you're a
The
film
most
fan,
banned movies ever made. What were they?
knew what I was talking about. Yeah, Universal, the film production studio, one of the greatest ones out there. So stay tuned for that. And by the way, I would be remiss if I didn't say this. Ladies and gentlemen, my Super Bowl is this coming Sunday. It's called the Academy Awards. So you can join. I know we got Danny, commentator and nerd. Open invitation to anybody else who wants to come on. We're going to do a watch along of the Oscars. We'll have our live commentary while the awards happen. And then in between commercials, kind of little predictions, all that jazz. And then we'll recap it after the show is over. It is daylight savings time this coming Sunday, so you got to set your clocks an hour forward, and the Oscars are on an hour earlier. So I'm pretty much just going to wake up and just get ready for the Academy Awards. All right, everybody, have a great night. What's that?
You have a clock?
I have multiple clocks.
But why?
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everybody.